They say every aspirant studies the same books, but only a few study themselves. Because UPSC preparation is not just about how much you study, it's about how well you understand your own preparation. What if there was a way to do that with precision? That's where Sandhan comes in, a personalized prelims test series powered by Vision Intelligence, crafted to understand you, not just your answers. No fixed schedule, no random test. Choose what to practice anytime, anywhere. Build accuracy topic by topic and focus exactly where it matters the most. Get instant insights, precision analytics, and focused feedback that turn every attempt into progress. With 25,000 plus UPSC level questions from NCERTs, GS Advanced and Current Affairs, Sandhan gives you complete coverage and sharper analysis on one powerful platform. Track your accuracy, map your strengths, pick your weak spots and grow with personalized mentoring, doubt resolution and smart dashboards guiding you every step of the way. Because success in UPSC prelims is not measured by quantity but defined by precision. To know more or register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. "99% of UPSC prep feels like you are studying. Only 1% actually moves you forward. The trick? Knowing the difference. At VisionIAS Delhi GS Foundation, that 1% is the entire design. Classes that connect facts to frameworks. So study becomes thinking. PT 365 and Mains 365 that teach what matters, not what exists. Tests that turn mistakes into patterns, not panic. Mentorship that trims noise before it turns into burnout. A structure where even revision has intent. Stop calling it hard work if it is not progress. Join VisionIAS GS Foundation course, also available through live or online classes. Batches starting at Karol Bagh, Delhi on 12 November at 8 am and 25 November at 5 pm. For more information, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. Ever feel like you're working hard but not moving closer to your UPSC dream? You're not alone. Most aspirants put in hours, solve countless questions and revise endlessly. Yet without a clear plan and guidance, progress can stall. Luxure Integrated Mentoring Program 2026 changes that. Every class, every test and every mentor session is designed to turn your effort into unstoppable momentum. Personalized guidance ensures your strategy is sharp. Real-time insights highlight your strengths and reveal gaps. Continuous mentoring builds clarity, confidence, and resilience for every stage. Prelims, mains, and interview. No confusion, no wasted energy. Just focused preparation, guided progress, and measurable results. Step in with confidence, power up your preparation, and own your UPSC journey with the batch starting from 14th November. To know more or register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers. In mains, knowledge is your foundation, but it's expression that defines your success. You may know the concept, you may understand the issue, but can you express your ideas with clarity, confidence, and conviction?
That's where Daksh transforms your preparation, not as a course, but as a mentorship-driven evolution platform for mains. Every session becomes a mirror, revealing how you think, how you write, and how you can rise higher. With one-on-one mentoring, focused answer writing, essay and ethics refinement, and continuous feedback, Daksh sharpens your articulation, speed, and analytical depth, transforming effort into excellence. In mains, it's not about volume, it's about value. With Daksh, make every idea count, make every answer matter, and let every effort move you closer to success. To know more or register, visit our website or call us on the given numbers.
Okay, so good afternoon, and sorry for being 14 minutes late. The session was supposed to start at 2. So I believe most of you know the purpose of why we have come together, which is how to prepare for your UPSC Civil Services GS part, right? And we'll also talk about the foundation course and the process, but I would not like to start with the courses that we are offering. It's more important to first of all figure out how you should proceed with the process of civil services examination, irrespective of whether you're joining a course or not, right? So that's the perspective that I'll talk with. The course details maybe others might tell, or in the course of time they might share with you. Okay. So I'm a faculty with VisionIAS since almost its origin way back in 2009. It's almost been 16 years, and I've seen almost every batch which has gone through these years. It's not every, because we have so many batches, so obviously there are other faculties as well. And I'm involved with geography, ecology, environment, disaster management, and so on. Earlier it used to be more things, but then gradually things reduced. I have myself given my interview. I'm an engineer by education, like most of the people in VisionIAS. Okay, all the teachers who will come today, I think even after me, both of them are also engineers, though one of them is about history, the other one is economy. Even our polity teacher is an engineer, and science teacher is supposed to be an engineer. Okay, so on. Even our founder is an engineer, right? Why? Because you have many engineers appearing for, professional background people coming into civil services. So I think that's one of the causes. But it's not about talking about that background. Just for the sake of knowing, can I just ask you people your backgrounds, to starting with you? Just the background. What graduation or post graduation? The final thing. Oh wow, integrated masters in chemistry. Great. I know somebody. She was a student in 2017, MBBS, joined PG, first year, dropped PG, didn't tell her parents, directly came to Delhi in the vacation, started preparing. Next year she got 180 some rank, now she's an IPS in UP. And once she got selected, then only she told her parent, I'm not doing my PG anymore. Okay, so ठीक है, अच्छा है, आप भी ऐसा कर सकते हैं. Yes, you there. BSc Physics. Physics, did you say? Wow, I have scientists around me. Yeah, yes, great. You? PG in education, great. Graduation, you're doing your post graduation, right? Eco, graduation. How many of you are still doing your graduation? Still, okay. So which year are you people preparing for? No, which year are you preparing for? Based on whichever respective class you are in. 27? Okay. Anyone for 28? I didn't ask you, sorry. BA, okay. And you are preparing for 27, 28, 27, 28, something like this. Okay, good. So you people, all of you have more than a year at hand, right? And hence we'll start the conversation from the beginning, right? Because had the conversation, let's say somewhere happened in August of a year, and next year itself students want to appear, there are few things that I don't suggest, because you have lesser time. But you people have accurate amount of time. I shouldn't say you have ample time. Ample is a misnomer. You never have ample time in life, right? But yes, you have the amount of time that is needed, and if you do your preparation in the right direction, it will be good, right? So having understood your background, right, slightly, what do you think, if I ask you, what do you think civil services require? Though I'll come directly to the geography very soon, but I'm trying to take you there by asking you these questions. For example, if I ask you, read civil services examination. So just before you read that whole thing, civil service and civil service examination, what do you think it requires from you? What kind of a person are they looking for? The exam process tells you they require a overall educated person. They don't need specialists in a given direction, right? They are not looking for economists or physics or chemistry or engineers or doctors. They are looking for people who are educated overall about the broader things in life, right? And for that they have made a syllabus, and I'm assuming some of you know the syllabus, which is they have included arts parts and they have included science part and they have included, you know, other things, ethics, etc. But if you see through all of them, as we'll progress, we'll also see they have put things which are directly related to day and day, you know, interaction with the society, right? Such as they have given you, if you see the prelim syllabus, it has 7 topics. It says polity, economy, history, geography, environment, current affairs, science and tech, right? And if you see the 4 GS papers, the first one talks about history and society and geography. The second one talks about polity and international relations. The third one talks about economy, ecology, environment, a bit of geography, disaster management, internal security, science and tech, and the last one talks about ethics. So 4 papers for your mains, and the 5th paper is your essay paper, where they give you different topics. Nowadays they give you a lot many philosophical topics and want to see how do you see or perceive the world, how you approach the world. It's not about any problem, it's more about how you approach a problem. So philosophies are applied in approaching problems or approaching situations, right? So people have different philosophies and through those philosophies they approach. So that's where the essay paper comes in, and then you have an optional thing which might vary between you, okay? Now so when you say educated, civil services exam requires a decently educated mind which is trainable for life in civil services. So there are 2 words, decently educated and trainable, right? Now when you say decently educated, kya matlab hai? That's what we just said, that they have given you a range of syllabus and from that they want you to be, so you have to be widely, you know, generalist jisko hum bolte hain, generalist is the way, alright? And in that generalist thing they have given you different subjects, right? Now when you educate yourself in any domain, aap kya karte hain? If I ask you, what do you do in the process of educating yourself in a given field? Because that's why I asked you, aap logon ne alag alag graduation ka background kiya hai, you have different background. What do you do in your process of education? Chemistry, physics, education itself, graduation, post graduation, so on. Kya kar rahe hain isme? What are you trying to do? If you just broadly, if I ask you, what is in one sentence, what are you trying to do in all those sessions and years that you have spent? Connect, you know, you're connecting, and before you connect you have to accumulate what you have to connect. So you're trying to get some knowledge, different information, and try to connect that information, right? And when you connect an information you get a pattern. I hope you understand. You understand what we mean by patterns, right? So any subject that you see that you are studying, you're trying to figure out patterns. What is the pattern of things happening in this? What is the pattern of things happening in molecules, right? Which forces are applied? Physics, what are the laws? How those laws are governing? What is the common element between the laws? How those laws are different? Which are the fundamental laws? Isn't it? In education you are trying to figure out, oh, what is the pattern of learning in kids or grown-ups, right? And how in different subjects those patterns might vary. What is the common element? What is the different element? Samajh mein aa raha hai? So you're basically trying to figure out pattern from information. Do we agree? ठीक है ना? And the ability to figure out pattern from information is an ability that an educated mind develops. Figuring out pattern in randomness. Should we do a small test to check this? Are you ready? Let's do this. ठीक है? I did this exercise in the class just before this one. You do this. Try to read what is written on the board. Can you read each letter? Letters, alphabets, numbers, can you read them? Can you read me the first 6, 7, 8 letters or alphabets? Read me quickly. 7, H, 1, 5, M, 3, 5, 5, 4, G, E. Continue to read and it goes on. Is there a pattern in this? If you just read the thing that you have read, is there a pattern? Yes or no? Is there a pattern in 7, 5, 1, 7, H, 1, 5, M, 3, 5, 5, 4, G, 3? Is there a pattern? Between the letters there is no pattern. But when you see the group, they show you a pattern. And that pattern matches to something that you already know. Can you read me the first 4 letters together and say what word is it trying to be like? This. The second one. Third one. Can you see the pattern? Can you see the pattern in the randomness? Why are you able to do this? One, because your mind is trained to see patterns. Second, you know the base word. The information of the base word is already there. You have not read it now. That word, this message is already there in your head and you are trying to match this pattern. And from this pattern you are trying to say, oh, this is what they are probably trying to say. Do we get it? So this is, why were you able to do this? Because your brain is now trained to figure out patterns and match them and bring out something common. And the moment you crack this code, now you can read the whole paragraph. Can you? Try kare. Read it. Loud. This message serves to prove how our minds can do amazing things, impressive things. In the beginning, it was hard. But now, on this line, your mind is reading it automatically. Can you see? Can you see how easy, once you figure out the pattern, things start falling in line and you are able to connect them. This is what education does. So you are able to see flows. Do we get it? So that's exactly what UPSC expects from you. It expects from you to be in a position where in information you can see patterns and use those patterns to apply them and come up with something else. Do we get it? So this is what we say, that education is about identifying patterns in what initially seems random and using this pattern to improve life, because education's purpose is to improve life. Is that okay? That's the first part. Now, when we go back, we find that civil services exam requires decently educated minds, which is trainable for life in civil services, right? Trainable versus rigid mind. Are you aware what's a rigid mind? A rigid mind does not open up to ideas. It remains closed. It will say, nahi, yahi hai, not open. But as a civil servant, you can't work like that. You need an open mind, where when you get an information, you should be in a position to create something new. Right? Something new which might not be similar to what might have earlier been seen, and give a solution, because every situation expects a different and pointed solution. Aisa nahi hai, you can't bring a solution from outside and apply. If you bring an American solution and try to apply it in a village in India, it might not work. I hope you get this. So you need to create solutions, right? And creation requires creativity, the ability of creativity. Okay? So first you have information, second you have pattern, third you have creativity. Do we understand this? Now, what is creativity? A flexible mind or a trainable mind has the ability of creativity. So if I say, what is creativity? If I ask you in simple words, let me do this basic, then I'll take you to geography. We'll run there quickly. Once you understand what we are trying to figure out, things will happen. Trainable versus rigid. If I give you a rigid mind, it will only see this. It will just say, okay, this information was written there, that's it. It doesn't change, nothing changes, this is fixed. I won't accept anything more than this. Whereas, and maybe it might go maximum up to this, and they will say, oh, on the basis of my experience, I can connect this knowledge, and I can say, these are the patterns, and there are no more patterns. That's a rigid mind. But what's a creative mind? What's a trainable mind? It's a mind which can train itself to do newer things, right? That's where creativity lies. In the same dot, seeing a different pattern. This is creativity. Do we get it? And ultimately knowing that everything is connected to everything else, right? So activities in economy are related to activities in polity, and activities in polity are related to activities in society, and they are related to things in science and tech. So if I do a good development in science and tech, it can affect my economy, it can affect my society, it can affect my polity, and people will grow. I hope you get it, right? So the connection between them, that's your wisdom. Take. So now, for example, now why am I doing all this to you? Because when you start preparing for civil services, the first thing that you will come across is knowledge. Books will give you knowledge. Do you get? But in the books, the different information which is given, they might give you some fixed patterns, but then you will have to identify some more patterns, and those pattern is something that I call making your own synopsis. Your synopsis is the pattern. So you read your basic book, which is the knowledge. From the knowledge, you create a synopsis. That's the pattern that you see. Synopsis, you understand? Flowcharts, right? So you are making a flowchart of the whole chapter. Oh, this chapter is trying to give me this pattern. Do we get it? So that is your second part, seeing the patterns based on your experience. And when you revise it, the more number of times you revise, the pattern becomes embedded in your head. Once you are done that, that's when it comes the next level, creating answers. Right? Creating answer lies here. It's the same knowledge, almost same pattern seen by everyone, but answers from everyone become different. And if you are able to create an answer which is different, your marks will go up. That's your mains answer writing. People ask me, sir, कैसा करना है? Same ही book से कैसा हो सकता है? Same dot से अलग pattern कैसा हो सकता है? Maybe here you are seeing a cat. Somebody might see a rabbit between them. Do you get it? So it's how you are connecting those dots, how you are connecting your information. Create answers and apply them and get your marks. So UPSC, read, make patterns, which is your synopsis, write answers. This is all that UPSC requires, and ultimately connect everything in your head so that if they ask you anything, anywhere, you should be in a position to connect and not say, sir, I don't know. And if you don't know, then you should say, I don't know. That's okay, right? So 3-4 stages of your preparation. First, source, books, knowledge. Second, patterns. It's not only the book, but when you read that chapter, you should see the pattern in the book. You should see the synopsis in the chapter. You should see the flow chart in the chapter. Once you have done this, then comes your answer writing. From the flow chart comes your answer writing. Create new patterns in terms of answer. You get 3 stages and ultimate. That's how your preparation has to go on, if you ask me, for UPSC. And if you are able to do this, good enough. That's it. Any question? So you understand this, the process you have to follow in this education thing, or in this process of preparing for UPSC. How do you go about it? This is what we are talking. How to go about. Now what to go about? Right now I'll only talk of geography. Okay. So if I ask you geography, as I said, I'm not a geography background person, but I have done geography for UPSC, right? And geography was my optional also, and I did decently well, all that story. And I did my GS geography in a very short span of time because I was able to identify important things and I worked on them. Same ways, if I ask you, so initially I didn't know about anything about geography, but if I ask you what is geography, okay, can you give me some hints from where do you think geography will start? First of all, will it include the earth? Yes. Is it about the earth? Yes. Is the earth alone, or is it surrounded by other similar things? What do you call that group of things? Solar system to begin with. On the larger scale you have a bigger word, right? But solar system. Is the solar system alone? No, it is part of something bigger. Galaxy is part of something bigger, universe. So where does the story start? Universe, right? We are trying to understand what all is in geography. Geography mein kya hai? What all is included in geography, right? So if we write the things which in geography includes, geography starts from universe and comes to earth. That's the first part of geography, right? And this part we also call it as astronomy or space science. Okay, when you try to learn the laws of it, you call it astrophysics, and so on and so forth, right? So that's your astronomy part, right? Then once you come to earth, what is there on the earth? Quickly, what is the earth made up of? Living and non-living things, right? So which ones come first, living or non-living? Non-living. Which are the non-living things on the earth? Quickly, give me answers. You know, there is nothing new I'm asking. Bolo. Non-livings. सबसे बड़ा क्या है? And when you're giving me an answer, think, whatever I'm going to say, is it part of something bigger or that's the largest? Yes, so on the earth, what is the biggest? One is water bodies or land and atmosphere, right? Now, land, is it, where is the land? Above water, below water, or both? Both. So you have continents, islands, which are above water, and you have sea floor, which is below water. Do we agree? Right? Now, when you go beyond on the in the continents and islands and sea floors, for example, on the continents, what do you find? Continent and island, what do you find? Mountains. आपने पहले शायद बोला था ना? Mountains, plains, plateaus, etc. And then in them you might have smaller bodies. Same way as when you come to the sea floor, there also you have lot many structures. Some of them you don't know right now, like mid-oceanic ridges are there. ठीक है, चलो अच्छा. Then in atmosphere, which phenomena you see in the atmosphere, or things that you get to see in the atmosphere? If I ask you, do you get to see something? अच्छा, one is you feel. What do you feel? Wind. And do you see something? Clouds and rains, cloud, rains, etc. Fog, and so on. The list is long, right? And same way in the water bodies also you see. What do you see in the water body? Some movements. Bolo. Waves and the biggest ones, tsunamis and so on. Yes or no? So when you see the non-living part of the earth, these are the things that you get to see. Is that okay? Now these are the outcomes or they are the process. A mountain is the outcome, or it's the result, or it is the process which forms the mountain. What do you think? Mountain क्या है? It's the outcome of some processes, or it is the process? It is an outcome. Very good, है ना? So mountains are, and all of them by that logic are outcomes. In geography, the outcomes are called as features. What is the word for outcomes? Features. ठीक है? And outcomes are a result of some process. Without a process, you can't have a right outcome. What is the word for process in geography? Phenomenon. We call them as phenomenons. So you have phenomenon and you have features. What is the phenomena? That's the process. What is the outcome? That is the feature. Okay. So for example, if I just ask you a thing, evaporation is what? It's a outcome or it is the process? It's a process. So evaporation is a phenomena, whereas cloud is outcome. So cloud is the feature. Mountain building, process. Mountain, outcome. So are you able to differentiate between outcomes and the process? What do we call the process in geography? What is the word for process? Phenomena. And what is the word for outcome? Feature. And a process always requires energy. That's basic law. You can't have a process without energy. So for all of this, there are energies also. Where are the energies for the earth? What do you think? Where are the energies which are making things happen on the earth? There is some energy inside the earth, right? We call it as the energy of the core. Then there is some energy coming from the sun. We call it as insolation. Do we get? And then there are other energies also in the form of gravitational energy, magnetic energy, right? Tectonic energies, right? Which are happening again because of the internal heat and all. Okay. So when you talk of these non-living things, there are energies leading to phenomena, and phenomena leading to features. This is the flow of the non-living part of the earth. We call it as physical geography. Sorry, I have a bit of a sore throat, so I might cough at times. I'm sorry for that. Alright, so we understand what physical geography mainly entails. For GS geography, it is the land, the water bodies and the atmosphere, and the energies, the phenomena and the features related to them. That's what you mainly study in physical part of geography. Okay, and then there will be details of that, right? I won't take you into the details as of now, but some of them you know by name, so we'll talk of, and as we talk we'll get more of it. Okay, can I assume we get this? Now this, when I say physical, is the non-living physical part. Okay, physical geography also includes another part, right? So physical but non-living, and then you have physical living part. Which are the living parts in physical geography or on the earth? If I ask you, which are those big groups of living things on the earth? We mainly divide them into two groups. Hint tha ye. Living things divided into two types of life forms: oxygen producing, oxygen consuming plants and animals. Simple bhasha. Okay, so you can divide this living into plants and animals, right? And living, the word for this is bio, life. The word for life is bio, and when you talk of the diversity of life, the word becomes biodiversity. So biodiversity is nothing but the physical living part of the earth. Is it geography? Not for GS, because it is so important that now they have separated and made another subject out of it in your prelims and mains. They call it as ecology, environment, biodiversity, climate change. Okay, but when you do the same thing in your optional, there will be two chapters in your optional paper 1 called as environmental geography and biogeography. They include this. So as far as the optional goes, they are part of geography. As far as GS goes, they are related to geography, but they are not done only within geography. They are done separately. Why? Because they are important. Now why are they important? Because this living physical thing is the relation between earth and human. Which side are humans? Non-living side or living side? Living side. Where are we? Are we part of biodiversity? Yes, but we are special. We call ourselves as humans, and we flow out of plants or animals? Huh? Animal. This is where human part of the earth comes in. Okay. So geography, right now we are just discussing what all is included in geography, right? So there was a physical non-living geography, there is a physical living geography, and in physical living geography, which is your biodiversity, right? And this whole, for the biodiversity, this whole thing, all these features, non-living features, they become what we call as environment. This is environment. The non-living physical geography becomes the environment for the living biodiversity, because the biodiversity lives in land, water and atmosphere. उनका वही environment है. Do we get it? And the relation between the environment and the biodiversity, and the study of this is called ecology. The study of the relation of environment and biodiversity. Do we get it? Right? So this is where the ecology comes in, and that's why they have made this as a new subject. Ecology, environment, biodiversity. They have added climate change also to it, but we'll talk of that later. Right? Now, what is the human part in this? So ये तो हो गया physical part of geography. Then comes the human, living part. Living may be human part. So if I ask you, what have the human beings done on the earth since we have come to the earth? By the way, when did Homo sapiens come to the earth? 2 to 3 lakh years before present. That's Homo sapiens. I'm not talking of hominids, I'm not talking of Homo erectus and all. Homo sapiens are as old as 2 to 3. What have we done? Where did we come up? We came up in a continent, Africa. From Africa, where did we go? We spread everywhere. So we spread from Africa to the rest of the world, and hence the first thing that human beings did was migration from where we were. Second, once we migrated, then we settled. Settlement, migration, settlement, and once we settled, we increased our population. These are the 3 activities that human beings did on the in the process of spreading on the earth, and presently we are almost on every continent, everywhere, isn't it? So if I ask you, which are the 3 things that humans did to grow their society? 3 things? Tell me. Migration, settlement, population. And hence this part of geography is called as social geography. क्या बोलते हैं इसको? Social geography. In human geography, this is your social geography as far as GS geography goes. Right? There will be more things. I'm not talking of optional right now, I'm just talking of GS geography. So these are the things that humans did for growing their society. Whereas to make the society live by the resources around them, what did we do? We utilized the resources. Right? Which resources? The resources which were there in the non-living physical geography as well as living physical geography. The resources of the biodiversity and the resources of the land, water and atmosphere. Okay. So one thing that humans did was social. The other is use of resources. And what use? Wasteful use or efficient use? Efficient use. Efficient use, I should say allocation and use. Efficient allocation and use. And somebody is from economics, if I'm right? आप में से कोई? What is the definition of economy or economics? One of the basic definitions of economy. Efficient allocation of resources. So this is what you call as economy in simple terms. Economy is nothing but use of resources. If I ask you, which are the resources that we have? Resources कौन सा है बताइए? And where do the resources come from? The word itself tells you. Resource means something that you can source again and again. So there is a source from where you resource, get the material again and again. Right? Which are the sources? We generally call the sources as mines when you are talking of mineral resources. You call them as biotic resources, so it becomes the forest. For biotic resource, the source is forest or biodiversity, and for mineral resource, the source is mines. Yes or no? And for renewable resources, the source is surrounding. You get it from the sun, you get it from the air, you get it from the water. I hope you get it. Okay, so you have resources coming from different sources, mines, biodiversity, surrounding. Now, these resources, when you get, you can divide them into forest resource, one. Second, you can call them as soil resource. This is basically agriculture. Actually, soil forest also comes from this, but when you are cultivating from the soil, you call it as agriculture. When you cultivate, when it naturally grows, it is forest, right? And then you have the third one, which comes from mines. These are mainly your minerals. So forest gives you the biotic resources, agricultural resources or mineral resources. These three activities together, where you just get the resources, you call them as primary activity. That's the definition of primary. Okay? And when you use those resources and create something out of it, क्या बोलते हैं उसको? When you apply all these resources, right? Let me change the color. So when you apply these resources and value add to this, we call it as manufacturing. Value addition of goods. Okay? So manufacturing is value adding to raw material. When you value add to raw materials, physical raw material, you call production of goods, and that production of good is called manufacturing. That is secondary industry, right? So you have primary economic activity and you have secondary economic activity, and then you might have other things that you do to promote all your economic and social activity, like education, health, administration, research, transportation, communication. All of this we put together call as tertiary activities. Okay? So when you are value adding by a service, you call it tertiary. When you are value adding by goods, you are calling manufacturing. And when you are getting those raw goods, that is primary. Right? These are the three major sectors of your economy. Okay? So tertiary. So do we understand that how the resource related geography leads to primary, secondary and tertiary? We call this as economic geography. So human geography technically has two parts for your GS. One is social, the second is economic. That is for GS. There are more parts, but I am not taking you there. Political hai, bahut cultural hai, bahut sara geography ka part. But we don't need this. So do we understand what is geography? Broadly, if I ask you, where does it start? Quickly. Geography starts from, so if there is a question about space and space objects, that is geography. Then Earth. If there is a question about Earth, its shape, where it is, what is the size, that is geography. Then if they ask you anything about land, atmosphere, ocean, their resources, etc., that is geography. Then any energy, any phenomena, any feature, geography. Uska आगे बोलो, living organism. So if they are asking you plants, animals, biodiversity, that is geography. If they are asking you what lives where, the environment, that is geography. If they are asking you relation between them, ecology, that is also related to geography. Though I will not say they are geography for GS now, but they are related to geography. If you understand geography well, you will understand these well. Right? And then next, human part. In human, social. What all is there in social? Spread, that is migration. Second, settle. Third, populate. And then the resources that we use. So primary, secondary, tertiary. So do you understand what is the broader framework of geography? Right? What is geography? समझ में आ गया पक्का? Any question please ask me so that I can answer that, else I'll take you further. Nothing? Now, how much of GS geography out of geography is there? What will tell us in GS geography what all is there? Actually, whatever we have done was only GS geography. I didn't touch anything else in terms of geography. If I was doing the same session for optional, I would speak something more, but not here. Not needed because आपका वहाँ interest नहीं है. Do we get it? So broadly, whatever we have done is broadly your GS geography and GS ecology environment background, right? Two of your prelims syllabus things, right? Now, how important is geography in your prelims, mains and interview? That's the next question. What do you think? What is the importance? Are they important? Do they ask you geography and related things in prelims, mains, interview? Have you seen some stats? देखा होगा आप लोग ने, आजकल तो stats का दुनिया है. Lot of stats is there, यहाँ वहाँ, है ना, बहुत कुछ पूछते हैं. My stats differ from the stats that you see on the net. Why? I'll tell you in a moment. If you see on the board, there are 3 bars that I have made for every year. Which are the 3 bars? General analysis, that's there in the market. My analysis, what I feel is related to geography directly or indirectly. And lastly, GS geography plus ecology environment questions put together out of 100. How many questions have come in the last few years? This is what I want you to understand. Starting from 25. General analysis was 13 questions. My analysis is 31 questions. And geography plus ecology environment 36 questions. Sir, what do you mean by your analysis? You will understand in 5 minutes, don't worry. I'll show you all the questions and I'll ask you whether this is related to geography or not. You answer. If you feel it is, their analysis doesn't matter to me. Why? Because for general analysis in the market, they can't put one question in 2 topics. But most of the questions of UPSC now are not related to one topic. Most of them are related to 2 or 3. For example, they might be related to geography, they might be related to ecology, at the same time they might be related to economy and current also. 5 statements, different. Now, where does the person who's analyzing that question puts it depends on his own preference. If he's a current person, he will say, current का question है, तो मैं तो geography का हूँ, तो मैं क्या बोलूँगा? Geography का है, क्यों? Even if it is related, I will say it is geography. Right? Because if you know the background, it will help. Right? So, next, 24. And general analysis, 22. My analysis, 29. Geography and ecology, 45. Now, if you see just the last 4 years, 38, 41, 45, 36. The average comes to somewhere around 37, 38 questions every year out of 100 related to geography or ecology or environment. This is the relevance of geography presently. And geography is the background for ecology environment also. Ecology environment is not the background for geography because ecology environment grows on geography. Okay? So, and the same way this whole analysis is there. So you can see, I'll just go 4-5 years. So seeing from here itself, you can see 38. I have said this. Okay? That's your prelims. Now I'll show you in a while these questions and ask you whether those 36 of them are 36 or 48 hai? 36. And if you want, I can show you 24 also. I have all those in my Excel sheet. And you yourself figure out whether those are right or wrong. Because until you understand the importance, you will not give it the real weightage that it requires. ठीक है? आपको लगता है नहीं इससे पूछता है उससे पूछता है, सब तो बोल रहा है ज्योग्राफी का 13 है. आप खुद देखो कितना है. अभी तो आपने सिलेबस बताया. Syllabus as in the broader framework. So if those questions can relate to the things that we just saw, they are geography. ठीक है? चलो. Mains, how many questions? GS paper 1, 2025, 125 plus marks. There is one question which is disputed, or I wouldn't say disputed, shared between sociology and geography, or social issues and geography, related to migration and something. ठीक है? If I consider that, then it is plus, otherwise it is 125 out of 250, 100 out of 250, 100 out of 250. If you see all of them, 19 onwards, 40% of your question in paper 1 were geography questions. And इसमें कोई ecology environment नहीं है. Ecology environment doesn't come in paper 1. ठीक है? That comes in paper 3. वो बात का बात है. Alright? Same ways, when you see paper 3 also, there also you will find that geography, as in human geography, agriculture, industry, infrastructure, services, ecology, environment, disaster management, together give you around 110, 120 marks of question in paper 3 also. ठीक है, we will see, right? आप घर जाओ खुद देख लो, एग्रीकल्चर, इंडियन इंडस्ट्री, इंडियन ट्रांसपोर्ट, इंडियन पावर सेक्टर, ecology, environment, disaster management. Just add up those questions. You will see at least 110, 120 out of 250 is geography related. Paper 3. Right? Paper 4 there is no geography, ethics hai. Paper 5 again, if you see in the last 10 years, in essay 25 starting from 2014, almost every alternate year they have asked you 125 marker question which is related to geography. 2014 tourism this can be the next big thing. 2016 water disputes. 2018 farming has lost its ability. 19 Asian societies are woven not around polity but around cultural and identities. That is, what group, what tribes, what set of people, how is the region affecting them, right? Then forests, 2022, forest is the best case study of economic excellence. It is part economics, part forest. Forest is ecology, environment and the relations of ecology. They come from the soil, they come from the surrounding environment. Next, forest precedes civilization, desert follow them. Forest and desert, if you don't understand what they are saying, you will not understand how they are related to civilization. So, almost every alternate year they are asking you a essay question also. Now, do you understand the importance of geography in mains? Paper 1, 100, 120. Paper 3, again 40%. Essay paper, almost alternate year you have one essay. And then once you reach your interview, the first question is, where are you from? The moment they ask you where are you from, what are the challenges of your district, what if you become a DM, what will you do in your district? If you don't know your district and your state, you can't answer. That is geography, right? And if they go into international relation and they go into oil and they go into mineral resources and if they go into any geopolitics, that's all geography, right? So I consider geography to be a pretty much of an important subject. And then if you choose to pick geography as an optional, which is amongst the top 5 optionals right now, your optional also is geography. Okay, so this is the importance of geography. Can I assume we understand the importance? Right. If we do, then let us move on to the next thing, which is, what is the syllabus of? So, once we are done with this, how important prelims means interview, the next thing is, what does the syllabus say? Now please read the syllabus and apply the word that you learned and see whether now you can say more than what the syllabus is saying. Had I shown you the syllabus earlier, you didn't know what was social geography, you didn't know what was economic geography, you didn't know what was human geography, political geography, physical geography. Now read it. What does it say? Indian and world geography. Which one? You understand what is physical? Living and non-living. Two part. Non-living, land, water, this thing. Living, now separated into general issues of this. So वो छोड़ देंगे हम. We'll focus on non-living. Then social geography, economic geography of India and the world. And this is your second one, ecology environment syllabus. You know this? What does this word mean? Environment, the physical non-living surrounding that mostly makes an environment. What is ecology? The relation between this and this. And climate change comes from atmosphere. Okay. Now go beyond this. Read the syllabus of mains and try to figure out whether you can decipher every word. Because understanding the syllabus is most important. If you understand the syllabus, then you can proceed. If you don't get what the syllabus is saying and you think, हाँ मुझे पता है, I assure you half the people don't understand the syllabus itself. Read. What does the first one say? Salient feature. What is the meaning of salient? Salient का एक synonym बताओ. Important. Feature. Now you know what is feature? Those are the formations. But most of the people don't know what features here mean. उनको पता ही नहीं है feature बोलते किसको है geography में. Features are those outcomes: mountain, plateau, plain, clouds, cyclone. These are features. Salient features of world physical geography. Second, distribution of natural resources. Which one? All resources? Only key resources. Now if I ask you, can you give me some key resources which are useful in your day-to-day life? Metals? Maybe you can name. Iron, copper, aluminium, zinc, tin, lead. यही है ना? Maybe 5-6. Then gold, silver, radioactive minerals, uranium, thorium, and then you have rare earth minerals, what you call as technology minerals. Now they have become important. And then you have lithium and cobalt and nickel. These are the key minerals. What else do you need? यही है ना? They are not going to ask you one element from the periodic table, कोई सा भी उठा करके tell. वो नहीं पूछता UPSC. UPSC asks you which are the key metals, which are the key non-metals, which are the key things from the forest, which are the key renewable resources. They are not asking you every resource. You should not mug up everything. But unless you know what is resource, what is key, you won't understand this. Okay? So key natural resources across the world, including all this. Then factors responsible for location of, you know what is primary, secondary and tertiary? We just talked. Getting the resource, processing the resource, all the services done to do all this. Right? In various parts of the world. Next, important, quick, important, physical. Geo is earth. Physical phenomena. Now you know what is the difference between feature and phenomena? Yes or no? So they are not asking you here features, they are asking you processes. Which are the important processes? Such as earthquake is not a feature, it's a process. Volcano is not a feature, it is a process. Tsunami is a process. Tsunami causes things. Okay? Cyclone, process. Cyclone causes outcomes. Right? So this is physical. Next, geographical features and their location. Then changes in critical geographical features. Which is critical thing on the earth because of which we can say earth is critical? Bolo. Give me oxygen is one. What else? Water. Water is critical on earth. That's the only thing that we don't know and cannot find elsewhere. Oxygen भी हम निकाल लेंगे CO2 को break down करके. But water in liquid form you don't find elsewhere. You find it only on earth. So what is the critical one of the critical features on the earth? Water bodies and ice caps. They are the source of life. Without them life cannot exist. Right? So this is the importance, and flora and fauna and their changes etc. तो ये हो गया आपका इकोलॉजी एनवायरनमेंट में. आए समझ में? एंड द सेम वेज यू हैव पेपर 3 सिलेबस उसी तरह से है. पेपर 3 में देखो जल्दी जल्दी क्या है. द 110 120 मार्क्स. मेजर क्रॉप्स, एग्रीकल्चर, different type of irrigation, services, storage, transport, marketing of agriculture, services, e-technology to the aid of farmers, services, but for agriculture. All of these are services for agriculture. Then issues related to direct, indirect farm subsidies. This is pure economics. Right? Then public distribution, that is also let us say economics. Buffer stock, again economics. Then some of the technology missions are related to farming. Okay, so those are there. Then economics of animal rearing. First you have to understand what is animal rearing, then economics comes now. If you don't know which animals you are rearing, why you are rearing. Then food processing, land reforms, and then infrastructure. Do we get it? So this is broadly your syllabus. Can I assume you understand the syllabus of geography? Right? So you understand its importance, you understand its syllabus. Last comes how to prepare. So how to prepare? We did the first thing. Knowledge, pattern, creating, that is your creativity, answers. So this is what you have to do. First you have to get your knowledge from the book, then you have to make a flowchart of the pattern, use that pattern and create your answers. That's your creativity. That's where our discussion began, right? Now, so what is the source of all this? Source का है, knowledge किधर से लाएंगे आप? Pattern तो बाद में identify होगा. What are the sources? These are your basic sources, which I want you to refer. There are 4 NCERT books, 1 GC Leong, and some atlas, and maybe 1 more book I'll ask. That's it. You don't have to do anything else. Fundamental of Physical Geography. But in this book now there is a catch. The catch is, the book that you should refer should have chapter number 5 as rocks and minerals, not geomorphic process. Geomorphic process as chapter number 5 is a modified book for COVID. So when you're buying your Fundamental of Physical Geography, figure out that chapter number 5 should be rock and mineral. तब आपका book right है. Otherwise it has been reduced for COVID. And the year they reduced that chapter, very next year, UPSC asked the mains question, what are primary rocks? अगला साल पूछा है, चैप्टर उधर हटा, इधर यूपीएससी ने पूछा. ठीक है? So please don't miss your original book. That is your first. Class 11th. Second is India Physical Environment. That's India Physical Geography. Class 11th. Third is Fundamental of Human Geography. Class 12th NCERT. And fourth is India People and Economy. People is Social Geography, Economy is Economic Geography. Together, Human Geography. Right? These are the 4 NCERTs. Now, apart from this, should you read your class 6 to 10th? The ones who are novice to geography, I would suggest jaldi kar lo. Read it quick. Don't spend too much time and maybe make short notes out of it. The things that you think you don't know, write on a piece of paper, move on. Everything that you do in 6th to 10th will come back in 11th, 12th. Okay? So you just have to read it once so that you can understand it in simple language. Because 6 to 10 is simple language. If you can't understand 6 to 10, I don't think that will happen. You people are grown up. I'm assuming none of you are 12th fail and 10th fail. Okay? So you will understand what your class 10th books say, and please read just once, then come back to this and then stick to them. That's it. These 4 NCERTs. The 5th book that I want you to read is called Certificate Physical and Human Geography, GC Leong. I want you to buy this 2nd edition, not the 1st. Don't buy the orange one, don't buy the silver one, don't buy the black one. Buy this multicolored one. This is the only one which is revised, latest, and they have revised it for UPSC for the first time. The older edition is not written for UPSC, but that was an excellent book. Even this is an excellent book with modified data to suit UPSC. इन्होंने साफ साफ mention किया इस book में. This book is modified for competitive exams in India, क्योंकि ये इंडिया का बुक ही नहीं है. GC Leong is a Southeast Asian writer, and the book is published by Oxford internationally, but it sells maximum in Mukherjee Nagar and Rajendra Nagar in the whole world, thanks to UPSC. ठीक है? समझ में आया? So buy this. GC Leong, it's an excellent book and it's a must book. There are chapters in this book which are not given in NCERT and UPSC is asking questions, such as, if you ask me, geomorphic processes, not given. Last year's mountain, fold mountain, location question, GC Leong. ठीक है? Then lakes, islands, and lakes, islands, part not given in your NCERT. Climate, world climatic region, partly given in NCERT, partly UPSC asked from this. Like they asked a question 3-4 years back, how the monsoon regions of Asia fill the economic needs of around hundreds of millions of people in the region. ठीक है, the answer came from GC Leong, NCERT में उसका आंसर नहीं है. ठीक है, so n number of questions every year come from. Last year the question about Red Sea, no major river, that was directly a line from GC Leong. Nowhere else it is given. Nowhere else. On the whole internet it is not given anywhere. That line is only in GC Leong. So I would expect you to read GC Leong. Don't miss it. And now it has become more important because UPSC is asking conceptual questions. GC Leong is stronger in concept than NCERT. ठीक है? So that is one book, and then one more book which I generally recommend is your India Yearbook published by Publication Division, only for data of agriculture, industry, transport, that thing. Just for the data you have to read this because your NCERT data is old. You can pick it from Economic Survey or you can pick it from India Yearbook, whichever. So 2025, next year 26 aa jayega. That will have some more updated this thing. So that will give you how much is the total number of ports and roadways and railways and air and agricultural data and so on. All that you find. Mineral chapter also is given very well. It is given in the industry part of the chapter. At the end of industry chapter of this, you have all the important minerals. Important, वो जो key minerals हमने पढ़ा था वो वहाँ लिखे हुए हैं उन्होंने. So you can get the data directly from there. ठीक है? That's it. That's your NCERTs, and then in the end you pick up an atlas. Atlas, all you have to do is pick a student atlas or school atlas. Student or school, that's it, of India and the world. Don't pick any other atlas. There are n number of atlases. If you want the best atlas, it is the NATMO atlas, National Atlas Thematic Organization. ऐसा कुछ करके है. Thematic Mapping Organization. That's a government body. They make excellent maps. The problem is they are useless for you. Why? Because they are full of information. So if you want the best atlas, that's the atlas. But if you want a usable atlas, this is the atlas. Pick a student atlas or school atlas by Oxford, Orient, DK, S-Chan, any. But school or student, that's it. So that's it, that's the source, nothing else. So that's it from my side. I've shared what sources to refer. When you read your NCERT, what should you try to do? You should try to make short notes, synopsis out of it. Kaisa synopsis? Jaisa ki, I'll just show you a very short synopsis. And with that we can end this session for the day, right? Something like this. So for example, this is the synopsis of chapter number 2 of your physical class 6th NCERT geography. Class 6th NCERT geography, chapter number 2. Okay, it's a 5-page chapter approximately. The whole 5 pages come down to this much. That's it. Okay. So I would expect when you're reading, keep a page next to you. I have done it in type format. You can do it in your paper pen format also. That will be more handy and the space will be better utilized. So make a short note. The main words in that chapter are globe, earth rotates, what direction, what is equator, what are tropics, what are polar circles, what is a heat zone, torrid, temperate, frigid, what are longitudes, latitudes, right? And major ones, and the angle divided from 1 degree to 60 minutes, and so on and so forth. That's it. That's the information. The whole chapter says only this much. So the whole chapter comes down to this. Same way you do it for class 6, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. Then you come to 11th, 12th. There also you make this or make a synopsis or a flow chart and you keep it. This is the exercise that you have to do in your preparation. Is that okay? Right? And the ones who will be joining, and if I do geography for you, that's exactly the format that I follow. I do not like deviating because we already have ample work at home to do with this only. So there's no need to do anything else. The only thing that you need to supplement all this with is your PYQs. PYQ is the last thing that you need to do in this whole exercise. And maybe before you go, let me show you some of those PYQs. मैंने आपको बताया कितना 31 question था 36. Just see for yourself and figure out, am I lying or are they not including the right questions? ठीक है, जल्दी से देखो, उसके बाद जाइए. ना जाइए as in you have another faculty session coming after this. still? Yeah. See this. I'll just choose 2025 and I'll choose geography questions. I think that's how it is chosen already. Okay. I'll just pick the year. So filter, pick 2025, and here I'll pick geography and environment. Two set of questions. Okay. And that's it. That's all the selection. Right. So now go on checking. Count the numbers. Just go on counting the numbers and figure out the geography ones. Rest you can add up yourself. Okay. Go and see the questions also yourself. Each of them. Is it related to geography or not? The first one says geography. Studies indicate that carbon dioxide emission from cement industries. Do you think it will be related? You just have to get a sense. If it is related, we can move on. You don't have to read the whole chapter. Right? So emissions and all. Second one, United Nations climate change. That we have included in environment. See the next one, geography. Scientific data suggests shifting take place in Earth rotation axis. Geography. Next one, Paris Agreement. Environment. That's not geography. Next one, environment. I'm leaving that environment one. How many geography questions till now? 2. Read this. Third one, 2 या 3 जो भी था. Fourth, different types of crops. Geography. Rainforest. Geography. Agriculture activities, poultry, etc. Geography. India has joined Mineral Security Partnership. India is a resource-rich country with all 30 critical minerals. Geography. Circular economy reduces the emission of greenhouses. First, you have to understand what is circular economy. How do we work with that? How are the resources utilized? Okay, I'm not saying this is only geography. Circular economy also comes in economy, the definition. But how it works, the basic of resources, that starts from geography. Okay, then all these country questions, passing through and all, lakes, largest producer, ancient rocks, dust particles, equatorial polar region, January, water on rocks, atmosphere. I'm just giving you those keywords. Just go on seeing for yourself. Right? You will find almost none of these questions. Marginal farmers, manufacturing, then railways, rainfall. Okay. Climate change. Climate change is ecology, environment, not geography. Right? And same ways, as you keep going down, ethanol production, peninsular India flooding, all of them, right? Almost all these questions, if you add up, you will find there are around 31 questions here and 7-8 additional which go into environment. Some of those environment ones are also in addition. So this is the total number of questions that you find. Okay, though when you see only the most properly analyzed market analysis, they say 13 questions. I differ because I feel even the other questions are related. When you're doing geography, they will come in your course directly or indirectly. That's the relevance. So anything else? Done? Good enough. That's it. Thank you from my side. Right? And wait for a while. The other faculty will come and start the session from here. That's it from my side. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? Fine, good. You have had your introductory session by Harsh Sir. My name is Aditya and I take economics here, and I'll be talking about, in brief, about obviously how to prepare for civil services concerning economics. Okay, I'll talk about that. So, but I'm sure that this will be asked from you several times during this session. Has anybody of you prepared already for this exam, or are you just thinking of preparing or starting to prepare? Starting to prepare, and none of you has given the exam till now? Okay, fine. Chalo. So I'll talk about economics, how to prepare for economic section of civil services. Let's break down the session into its components. First, tell me what is it that we study in the subject economics. Just as at a very broad level, tell me economics में पढ़ते क्या हैं, क्या पढ़ते हैं economics में, बताओ. हाँ? Utilization of resources, fine. What else? Anything else? हाँ? Working of economy, बड़ा generic सा term है. हाँ, in India, चलो ठीक है. और so we study various things like, let's say, taxation, inflation, unemployment, GDP. We study all these things, ठीक है. But at its heart, economics as a subject, क्या पढ़ते हैं इसके? It's ultimately about optimum use of minimal resources, the limited resources that we have. I'm sure everybody has studied about this, has heard this phrase and studied about this problem since your childhood. Limited resources, unlimited wants. So basically, this is what that is what we study in economics. It's a study of how to optimally utilize the limited resources that are available. Now, what is optimal utilization? What is limited resource? What is unlimited wants? इन सब words का मतलब क्या है? Limited resource. अब जैसे आपने बचपन से पढ़ा है limited resource. Resources are limited, but इसमें कोई नई बात थोड़ी ना कि resources are limited. Everything is limited or not? As in the money that is there in your pocket is limited. The coal that we have in the country is limited. Iron ore is limited. Water resources are limited. Even sunlight, is it not limited? भाई 8 घंटे या 9 घंटे की sunlight है आपके पास, वो भी तो limited ही है. So every resource that is there is limited in quantity. So it's not just about limited resources. It's about limiting. Limiting word का मतलब क्या है? Limiting is कि there are things that are going to limit the output, limit what can be produced. We have land, we have seeds, we have cement, we have fertilizers, we have got people to work, we have got water to spray, we have got sunlight for cultivating crops. We have limited resources. लेकिन उनमें से limit क्या करेगा output? क्या हमारे पास seeds की कमी है? क्या हमारे पास pesticides की कमी है? क्या हमारे पास worker की कमी है? तो कुछ resources होंगे, there would be some resources that would limit the output. उनको बोलेंगे हम limiting resources, जिसको हम थोड़े technical भाषा में बोलते हैं budget constraint, that there is some budget constraint. Unlimited wants का मतलब क्या है? Desires unlimited है. अब desires तो हर एक person के unlimited है. क्या अंबानी जी के सारे desires fulfilled हैं? अंबानी जी, yes. English. All right, got it. Fine. I'll speak. Being my mother tongue, I may involuntarily slip, but I will try not to. Fine. Thank you. Ambani ji, does he has unlimited? Are all his desires fulfilled? Even he has unfulfilled desires. He would want to achieve something more, gain something more, have something better in his life. So desires of people are generally, unless you are a monk somewhere, your desire, there will be some unfulfilled desires that you have. So again, when we say that we have unlimited desires, it's not about expressing that desires are unfulfilled. What we mean to say is that, link these two terms, limited resources, unlimited wants. That resources are limited, that means something will limit what can be produced. And because we will produce some limited output, therefore it's not possible to meet all the demands of everybody. People will have conflicting demands. We have got limited amount of land, water, labor, whatever. You want to cultivate apples, you want to cultivate mangoes, you want to cultivate tobacco, you want to build real estate on that. On the resources that we have, limited output can be produced, not unlimited output. That means conflicts would be there. We'll have some unfulfilled desires. And even if everybody wants mangoes, we say that the total desire for mangoes will be more than how much amount of mangoes can be produced on the limited amount of land that we have or resources that we have. We'll have much more demand as compared to the possible production, or what we call as supply. That is limited resource, unlimited want. Economics is the study of this basic phenomenon. What can be produced using what is available. And when we recognize limited resource, unlimited want, we say that there are trade-offs. Trade-off samajhte, what is trade-off? Trade-off is that you have got multiple objectives which are desirable in nature. Multiple desirable objectives, but recognize that you cannot fulfill all the desires at the same time. You want to become a football player and also you want to become an IAS officer. Both are desirable objectives. But recognize the fact that with the limited resource, time that you have, energy that you have, you probably can't achieve both. You'll have to make a choice somewhere. So economics is about this choice. You study about this choice in economics. Limited resources, unlimited want. Let's apply this aspect in a more practical, more relatable sense. Government has limited or unlimited resources. Everybody will have limited resources. Limited resource in form of, let's say, time that the government has, money that the government has. Time as in 5 years time that you have for your tenure. You've got limited amount of money that can be spent, budget that you have. Number of people working for the government are limited in quantity. As citizens, we would want that government spends money on building schools, but also it should spend money on building roads as well, ports as well, hospitals as well. It should give more amount of salary to its government employees, more amount of pension to its retired employees. It should give subsidies to people. There are various claims, various conflicting but desirable claims upon the government resources. You can't fulfill all the desires at the same time. You can't satisfy everybody at the same time. There has to be some sort of optimal allocation. Optimal allocation. That is what we study in economics. Is it clear to you? So this is basically what we study. And when we understand this, then it leads to a very important aspect. As an individual, you have got limited or unlimited resources. Individual के पास limited हैं कि unlimited resources हैं, बताओ? Limited resources. You want to buy a car. You have got limited amount of resource, let's say money. You want to spend 10 lakh rupees to buy a car, let's say the budget consists limited amount of money that you have. You have around 10 lakh rupees, 10, 10.5, 11, 9.5. You have some limited amount of money to buy a car. You have to buy a car. I have to buy a car. I come from Noida every day. My daily running is around 70 kilometers, 35 kilometers to and fro. It's around 70 kilometers per day. I have decided upon the model of the car that I have to buy. Now I'm confused whether should I buy a diesel car or a petrol car. Which of the two is a cheaper fuel, diesel or petrol? सस्ता कौन सा है? Diesel is the cheaper one. Which of the two is a more efficient? ज़्यादा mileage कौन सी गाड़ी का होता है? Which car gives more mileage, diesel car or petrol car? Diesel car normally gives more mileage. Now don't compare Fortuner to, let's say, Maruti Ciaz. Same class of cars में diesel cars give more mileage as compared to petrol cars. Diesel Innova and petrol Innova, diesel petrol की तो Fortuner आदि भी नहीं है. Diesel is cheaper. Diesel is more efficient. Therefore, your running costs with diesel car would be more or less. Diesel is cheaper. Diesel is more efficient in the sense mileage is higher. That means running cost of your car will be more or less in case of diesel versus petrol. किसमें कम होगी running cost? Diesel will have less running cost. So let's take my example. Let's say because I drive 70 kilometers per day, my per day cost of fuel, if I use a diesel car, will be 400 rupees. If I use a petrol car, will be 500 rupees. That means let's say I save 100 rupees per day on diesel versus petrol. 100 रुपये per day मैं save कर रहा हूँ. How much do I save in 1 year, in 1 month? 100 rupees per day on an average. In 1 month, how much do I save? 3,000 rupees. In 1 year, how much do I save? Around 36,000 rupees. So let's say 30,000 rupees is what I save in 1 year, right? Which of the two cars is more expensive, diesel or petrol car? Diesel is the more expensive one. If you take the same model of car, if let's say you take Maruti Ciaz, Hyundai Verna, Honda City, if you take same car, then the diesel model will be generally more expensive as compared to the petrol variant. So let's say in this around 10-12 lakh rupees range of car, the diesel car is 1 lakh rupees expensive as compared to petrol car. Diesel की गाड़ी 1 लाख रुपया 1 lakh rupees expensive as compared to petrol car. How much were you saving in running a diesel car per year? Around 30k. How many years will it take for you to break even? Break even समझते हो सब लोग? 3 year break even, as in you would have paid a premium to buy a diesel car 1 lakh rupees versus you are saving around 30k per year on running a diesel car. That means it will take you around 3 years for you to recover your investments that you made in diesel car. Break even time is 3 years. So the question that we have to ask for optimal use of limited resources is, for how much time do you plan to keep your car? Do you plan to keep your car for 2 years, 3 years or 5 years or 6 years? If I ask you in how much time do you plan to change your car and you say 2 years, what is the optimal choice, to buy a petrol car or a diesel car? Petrol car. Get this point? Suppose optimal use of limited resources, then it makes sense for you to buy a petrol car. If you buy a diesel car today, You buy a diesel car today because you thought that your running expenses would be less, and you end up changing your car in 2 years. You bought a diesel car today, one. You ended up changing a car in 2 years. Your money therefore was optimally or suboptimally utilized. Suboptimally utilized. Your money was suboptimally utilized. Who is going to suffer because of this suboptimal utilization? You will suffer or somebody else will suffer? You will yourself suffer or not? Will anybody else suffer because of that? No, only you will suffer because of that, because your resources were suboptimally utilized. आपका पैसा, your money, आपको आग लगानी, to burn your money, you burn your money. Nobody is stopping you from burning the money. But the fact is, your money has been suboptimally utilized. Is this clear to everybody? Which of the two, diesel versus petrol, is a more polluting vehicle? Which fuel burns dirty, diesel or petrol? Diesel. Diesel is a dirtier fuel. I'm sure you have been breathing in the very clean air that is enhancing 3 years of your life every year, right? So diesel is the dirtier of two fuel. For the society as a whole, what is a better choice? Society should be preferring to buy diesel cars or petrol cars. For society as a whole, individually we have talked about that. Now I'm talking about from the society's perspective, which is the better car. Petrol is a better car because it's a less polluting fuel. You are in government of India. You are a bureaucrat in Ministry of Finance or Ministry of Environment, whatever. And as a bureaucrat, you see that it is better that people in the country are tempted, are willing to buy more petrol cars than diesel cars. You propose a tax of 1 lakh rupees on diesel car. The diesel being the dirtier fuel, diesel cars will attract an environmental tax of 1 lakh rupees, making the diesel car not 1 but 2 lakh rupees expensive than the petrol car. Because diesel car is not 2 lakh rupees more expensive. What happens to the break-even time? It becomes 6 years. Break-even time that was 3 years becomes around 6 years. Therefore, what happens to people's choices? People's, individuals' choice. What happens to those choices? Many people will now shift towards buying petrol cars versus diesel cars or not. Those who were breaking even in 4 years or 5 years, now they will shift towards petrol cars or not. Why? Because it doesn't make sense to buy a diesel car now, as in pay that premium of 2 lakh rupees in buying a diesel car. Get this point? Society as a whole benefits or not? From this decision, society as a whole benefits. Why? Because now let's say we have got less pollution in society. This decision that was taken to impose an additional 1 lakh rupees of tax on diesel car, I'll repeat, the decision of imposing additional 1 lakh rupees of tax on diesel car, this decision impacts one particular person on everybody as a whole. Impacts everybody as a whole. That means not one person's but everybody's resources are now being geared towards, are now being nudged towards being optimally utilized. Not one person loses or wins. Not the bureaucrat. As a bureaucrat, I may have to buy my car myself. But now because of that tax was taken into consideration, that tax was implemented by taking into consideration the impact it has on everybody, not on one particular person. It's not about using one person's resource, but everybody's resource in an optimal manner. Is this clear? The decision is not towards a micro entity, but towards a macro entity. This is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics. I'm sure you have heard these terms, micro and macro. Micro and macro. Economics is about optimal use of limited resources. Optimal use of limited resources. Everybody has limited resources. An individual, a family, a community, a society, everybody has limited resources. What is your focus of study? Do you want to optimize limited resource use for a micro, as in microscopic entity, or for everybody taken together but not for anybody in particular? We'd want optimal use for both people. आप ये भी तो चाहोगे ना? You would want that your own resources are optimally utilized, and you would also want that everybody's resources are optimally utilized. If one person's resources are suboptimally utilized, that person suffers. If the societies as a whole resources are suboptimally utilized, the whole society suffers. Who can take decisions for others? Who can take decisions for yourself? Which AC do you have to buy, a 3-star or 5-star AC? Which car you have to buy, a diesel car or petrol car? Which mobile phone should you buy with the limited resources? Who will take that decision? You will yourself take that decision. But who can take a decision to impose a tax upon you? Who can take decisions for others? कौन ले सकता है दूसरों के लिए decisions? वो केवल सरकार ले सकती है decision. दूसरों के लिए decision. For others, you can't take decision for him, but government can take decisions for everybody. So you have come to this open session to how to prepare for civil services, meaning I'm assuming you are willing to prepare for civil services and you are willing to become part of government. As a member of government, you would be in that position to take decisions for others or not. As an individual, you would be required to take your own decisions. But as a member of the government, you would have an additional responsibility to take decisions for others as well. Not just for yourself, but for others as well. It would be desirable if you are trained in microeconomics. But it is absolutely necessary that you are trained in macroeconomics. If you don't know microeconomics, you will end up not using your own resources well. I don't care whether you waste your resources or not. But if you are not trained in macroeconomics and you are part of government, then you will end up using society's resources in a suboptimal manner. That is what I care about. So when you want to become part of government, I'll repeat, as a citizen, as an individual, it's desirable that you know microeconomics. But as a member of the government, it is necessary that you know macroeconomics. And because you are preparing for this government exam, therefore, our focus for this exam preparation is macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is what our major syllabus of economics is. Have you understood this part, macroeconomics? Why is it that we study macro? Micro, macro mein koi antar nahi. There is no difference between micro and macro. Both are talking about optimal use of limited resources only. It's simply the entity in focus which is changing. Do you want to utilize the resources maximum in best way for an individual or a firm or a sector or an industry or the economy as a whole or some big region? An individual is poor, your individual's state. The society has poverty, society is state. An individual is unemployed. Why are you unemployed? Micro, individual. There might be 100 reasons as to why you are unemployed. You might not have skills, you might not have knowledge of technology, you might be facing seasonal unemployment. But what is unemployment rate in the country? How can we talk about reducing unemployment in the country as a whole? Macro aspect. How much output does VisionIAS produce? How many students are enrolled? What is the value of output that we are producing? That is for one firm, specific, micro aspect. How much output is the economy as a whole producing? Macro aspect. Is this clear? How much amount of money does a firm have? Micro aspect. How much amount of money do everybody in the economy taken together does the economy have? Macro aspect. Is this clear to everybody? Macro. We are focused in our preparation for this exam upon macroeconomics, not so much on microeconomics, but again I'll repeat, there is absolutely no difference between macro and micro. It's simply application. Do we want to apply these optimization principles for an individual or a firm or for the economy as a whole? That is what our macroeconomics is. And with this, let me introduce you to the syllabus. कि भाई हमारा syllabus क्या है इस exam, इस subject का. We'll focus, as I said, on macroeconomics. Macroeconomics is, broadly speaking, what our objective is, and within macroeconomics you are going to study various topics such as developmental economics, which has chapters of poverty, unemployment and inequality. Then we study basic macroeconomics, where you study chapter on national income accounting, this is basically the GDP chapter, GDP and inflation. Then you move to the more advanced part, which is money. Money and finance, where you study money and monetary policy, banking and capital markets. Then we move to external sector, where we study the topics of balance of payments, exchange rates, foreign investments, current account deficit, and institutions, World Bank, IMF, WTO. बता रहा हूँ मुझे पता है, मुझे खुद समझ नहीं आता मैं क्या लिखता हूँ. And finally, we have got government budgeting and fiscal policy. Simply fiscal, sorry. Government budgeting, deficits and debt, taxation, policies, planning, infra, industry, agriculture. I'll read out, don't worry, I'll read out, I know. This is broadly what our syllabus is for this exam. Broadly speaking, ये syllabus है. Developmental economics, that has these three main topics: poverty, inequality and unemployment. Then you have got basic macroeconomics, where we study national income accounting. This is basically the GDP chapter, and inflation. Then we have got money and finance, where you study money, monetary policy, money demand, money supply, all these things, which is basically RBI topic. And then we study banking and capital markets, banking, stock markets, NBFC. This is over here. Then there is external sector, where you study balance of payments, BOP, current account, capital account, inflows, outflows, exports, imports, remittances, services. Yes, we study over here. Exchange rates, $1 equal to 80 rupees, 90 rupees. That is exchange rate, different kind of system. All these real, nominal, all these things. Foreign investments, FDI, FPI, current account, CADs, current account deficit, CAD. Institutions, we have got World Bank, IMF and WTO. Then we study fiscal policy. The last topic is government budgeting, accounting in budget, what is revenue account, capital account, what kind of various expenses we have, revenue expense, capital expense, deficits of the government, fiscal deficit, primary deficit, deficits, debt, taxation. Finally, policies. In policies, we study planning, infrastructure, investments, industry, agriculture, etc. We study these things. Broadly, this is what is our syllabus. ये हमारा syllabus है. Now, how to prepare? जो हमारा main session का मुद्दा है, how to prepare for this exam. This is what our syllabus is. Sources and method. कहाँ से prepare करना है? What is the first source of preparation? हाँ? NCERT. कहाँ से पता चला NCERT? सुना है everybody says NCERT पढ़ो है ना. I also say NCERT पढ़ो, obviously yes. First source, the first and foremost primary source, and this is the key takeaway that you people are going to take from this session over here. Key takeaway as in why have you come over here in such pollution, तुम ये सबसे important चीज़ है. First source. It's not exactly NCERT, it is, but not exactly NCERT. The first source is PYQs. That is the first source, previous year questions. Sadly, people are of this belief, they have been told this thing that you do PYQs at the end. Once you are prepared, then you do PYQs. I will do PYQs once I am done with my preparation. There is no time when you are fully prepared. There will never be a time when you are fully prepared. ask a person who has given 5 attempts and ask them, have you done this thing or fully prepared? They will not be fully prepared. There will never be a time when you are fully prepared. What is the best time to do PYQs? The best time is to start your preparation with PYQs. Why do you need to start with PYQs? Kya economics partly? Have you studied economics? No, you have not. You are learning about the subject, as in this is not even a class, this is simply an open session. You have not studied economics, you can't solve previous year questions of economics, you can't solve them, that's a fact. Even if you can solve a few questions, that would be completely a fluke. You don't know the answer, you don't know the logic, you can't solve them. Even if you can, that would simply be because merely that luck favored, you knew the answer to that question. आपको आता नहीं है basically वो चीज़. And even then I am saying, you start your preparation with previous year questions. Why? Where did I get to know कि syllabus में ये चीज़ें हैं? ये मुझे कैसे पता चला? Have you seen UPSC's syllabus? Have you seen the notification and seen what is written in prelims syllabus and main syllabus? Completely vague terms are given. Completely vague. Developmental economics, planning, welfare, government schemes, investment models, agriculture, they have expanded agriculture so much. What is it that they will ask in agriculture? Nobody knows that what is that they are going to ask. What is our guide of preparation? As I said, these next 5 minutes, these are the key takeaways from this particular session. What is the guide of our preparation, the guiding light? Syllabus में क्या है, क्या पढ़ना है, previous year questions में क्या, what has been asked in previous year questions. PYQs are a guide of your preparation. During your preparation, everybody that you come across, everybody, your teachers, your mentors, your friends, your parents, your well-wishers, everybody that you come across, everybody with best of their intentions, everybody will corrupt your preparation, quote unquote corrupt your preparation. Corrupt means what? Everybody will tell you, ye padh lo, study this is important, not important, read this topic, this chapter, and so on and so forth. Read this from here, read that from there. Everybody will tell you with the best of their intentions. But the fact is, they are not giving your exam, you are giving your exam. If something is asked, not asked from that, who will be responsible? You will be responsible, nobody else is responsible. If I tell you, read this and don't read something else, and this is not asked, something else is asked, you are the one who is going to suffer, not me. I am not giving the exam, you are giving the exam. Suno sabki. Listen to everybody, do what you have to do. But to do what you have to do, it's not my life, my rules, my life, my rules. To do what you have to do, you must be capable to do what you have to do. It's not as if that I ask you, there's a marathon going on, please go and run in that marathon. Bhagna hi to hai, bachpan se bhagte hain, we have been running since childhood, we can simply go and run in the marathon. No, it's not that easy. Go and have a look at the track. Go and see what kind of gear, what kind of clothes are you going to wear, what kind of shoes do you require. Can you sustain that marathon for, let's say, 10, 11, 12, if not 21 kilometers, 42 kilometers, can you sustain it for 10, 15 kilometers? Or are you going to give up? Once committed, you are going to give up within 2 kilometers only. First, go and observe the rules of the game. See what is asked. Look at previous year questions and see what kind of depth, what kind of breadth is required. I will say that study this particular thing, but when you look at previous year question, then you will realize what kind of depth was required to answer a particular question. And anyone who is guiding you with best of their intention, everybody would try to undermine the depth because they are not giving the exam. I'm sure you might have, I'll give just an example. I'm sure you would have heard something called as repo rate. सुना होगा तुम लोगों ने. पता नहीं होगा क्या होता है, हो सकता है, maybe you know what is repo rate, maybe you don't know. But there's something that we come across on a regular basis in, let's say, newspapers when we talk about monetary policy. You might know what is repo rate. You might know what is a CRR or SLR or something, some other monetary policy tools that you might know. I don't know whether you know about these things right now or not, but you probably will get to know when you start studying economics. But when you look at question with respect to repo rate or CRR in the previous year questions, question is not going to be easy. It's not simply going to be a definition. Okay, what is repo rate? आपने पढ़ लिया, you studied what repo rate was. Exam में question अलग ही level का पूछा हुआ है. And there you are surprised, यार paper बड़ा मुश्किल है. The exam, the paper is very tough this year. Every year when students come after the exam, every year they are surprised, यार इस साल का तो बहुत मुश्किल paper. This year paper was very difficult. No, my dear, last year was also difficult. Before that was also difficult. Before that was also difficult. It has never been easy. It's just that You are realizing about its difficulty for the first time. Why to be surprised, why to be shocked when you are giving the paper after first attempt rather than seeing the previous year questions first? Look at PYQs first. Now, how do you look at PYQs? How do you start with PYQs? As I said, you can't solve PYQs. You have not studied economics or history or polity. You can't solve PYQs. How do you begin with PYQs? Go back, when you go back today, open YouTube, write down on YouTube, open session previous year paper discussion. Last 5 years, 3 years, 10 years, 7 years, there is no number to this. You should have prepared for last 5 years or 7 years. There is no number, whatever you are comfortable with. Don't want to see me, don't want to see VisionIAS faculty, don't want to see somebody else, please. Every institute has this on the YouTube. PW has, an academy has, Next I has, Vision, everybody has on the YouTube channel. I'm assuming everybody, but we have our on YouTube channel. So look at previous year questions, as in look at previous year papers discussion on YouTube. Do not pause and try to answer. You can't answer. But let's say if I am discussing a question, in that question I would definitely say, okay, this question is from this topic, this option is from some other topic, this option was asked because it was in news, because let's say Modi ji said something, or some Nirmala ji said something, or Donald Trump ji said something. This was in news because of these things. Sri Lanka had a crisis, therefore IMF had to give loan to them, and this question is from there. When you are listening to these statements, not this solution, जब पता ही नहीं तो क्या solution करोगे यार, जब पता ही नहीं आपको सवाल के बारे में, when you don't know the question, you don't know the explanation, but listen to these statements. Then what is happening is your hidden spots are getting awakened. Okay, when you study economics, when you look at these things in newspapers, then you try to realize, okay, this is where I can link these things, this is where they can be asked. That is how I have to prepare. PYQs are the most important source of preparation. In fact, the most important first source of preparation. For you to be able to do what you have to do, karo sabki suno sabki karo apni. For you to be able to do what you have to do, you must be capable to do that. How do you become capable? You become capable by looking at PYQs first. So look at PYQs before you begin your preparation, right? Do not try to solve them. You can't solve them. Just listen. Listen on 1.5x speed a YouTube video of last 5 years, and from that you will get an idea what is the syllabus, what questions have been asked from which chapters, what kind of breadth, what kind of depth is required to answer those questions. This is what PYQs do, right? Once you do PYQs, then naturally you need a conceptual understanding. Where do you get conceptual understanding from? Then you need some as in conceptual understanding. Here you require two key aspects. You can do with one also, but two are important. One is obviously NCRTs. NCRTs class 11th and 12th. You want to go more backwards, you want to study 9th and 10th NCRT, please go ahead and study those NCRTs. Before you ask this, let me address it as it is. Why should you study 9th and 10th NCRTs? I'll just deviate for a moment. This goes for any subject, not just economics, for polity, history, geography, whatever. Why should you study 9th and 10th NCRT? 11th and 12th NCRT gives you all the concepts that are required. These books are sufficient, but assuming that you have chosen English medium, assuming that thing, English is not any of our mother tongue, right? It's an adopted language, and because of that our command over language is not so good. And because command is, don't answer this to me, answer it to yourself, how good of a command that you have on the language. Trust me, I tell this, I take economics in my classes, I take around 50-55 lectures of economics. Even if my students understand everything that I am explaining, which is quite rare, even then I tell this honestly to them, सारा कॉन्सेप्ट समझ में आने के बाद भी आप एग्जाम में गलत आंसर मार्क करके आओगे. इवन इफ यू अंडरस्टैंड एवरीथिंग दैट आई हैव टॉट, यू विल स्टिल प्रोबेबली एंड अप मार्किंग रॉन्ग आंसर इन द एग्जाम. व्हाई? Because the question would not merely be economics question, it is also equally an English language comprehension question. You might have knowledge of the concept, but you'll still not understand the question properly, and that requires English language, a superb command on the language. This exam is equally about, as in if one thing was most important, communication skills are most important in the exam. Reading skills, comprehending skills, in mains writing skills, in interview speaking skills, presentation skills, all your communication skills. these skills are extremely important. Your polity, your history, your environment or economics, all these are one subject, but all these are linking you to the exam via communication skills. So communication is the most important part in this exam. And how do you develop a command over language? You don't develop command over English language by reading newspapers. Sorry, no. आपको अगर ये बताया गया है, बताया जाता है कि अखबार पढ़ो, read newspapers and you will develop command over the language. No, you will never develop command over language by reading newspapers. How do you develop that command? By reading simple things. 9th, 10th NCRTs are written in simple language. Same concept in class 11th, 12th may be presented in a little bit more complicated manner. But 9th, 10th is even more simpler. So you start from there. So 9th, 10th serve the purpose of understanding of concepts plus building a command over language. Punctuations, commas, full stops, the, and all these things. Sentence formation. This is that you learn from by reading 9th NCRT. So please read them if you want to answer it to yourself ki how good of a command you have over the language. If you have decent command, then 11th, 12th are more than enough. Otherwise 9th, 10th bhi pad lena. There are 3 NCRTs of 11th and 12th. One is microeconomics, one is macroeconomics, and other is Indian economy. Indian economy, you have to read it, no doubt about that. Macroeconomics, again you have to read it. Microeconomics. If right now I say कि micro मत पढ़ना, me corrupting your preparation. अभी बता ना corruption of preparation. अगर मैंने आपको बोल दिया कि माइक्रो से एग्जाम में सवाल नहीं आता है और एग्जाम में सवाल आ गया, मैं थोड़ा ना एग्जाम, आई एम नॉट गिविंग द एग्जाम, यू आर द वन हु इज गिविंग द एग्जाम. सो इट्स अप टू यू वेदर यू वांट टू रीड माइक्रो और नॉट, बट थोड़ा सा ट्रस्ट कर लो मेरे ऊपर. Questions on microeconomics from microeconomics are very rare. They have been asked, their questions are there, but are very rare, and to my understanding, those questions can be answered without specifically studying microeconomics. If you have good command over macro, you can still answer those questions, because as I said, the principles are same. Simply the focus entity is changing. In one case, you want optimal use of limited resources on a micro entity, in another case, a macro entity. Principles in forming micro macro are same, but just the application would be different. So you could answer those questions that have been asked without reading microeconomics. So micro optional, if you want to read, you can read, but macro and Indian economy, you have to study these things. Apart from that, you will need a comprehensive source. क्योंकि मन नहीं मानता NCERT पढ़ने से, लगता है कि कुछ, we always think that something has been left. You would want a source which is comprehensive, which is error free, which is as far as possible updated. That is what you want in any source. Don't talk about a book, simply think about what is it that you need in a source. Something that covers most of syllabus, previous year questions can be reasonably answered from them, is conceptually sound, doesn't have lot of errors, and as far as possible is updated. For that, again, there's a conflict of interest in my suggestion, but it is up to you. It is up to you. A coaching institute material should be good enough, should be more than enough. In our case, as in I don't know about any other coaching institutes, I can't vouch for their material. Our institute's material, VIAS material, it's available in the market. You can, I mean, you don't have to take admission to purchase the material, obviously. It's available in the market, you can refer to that material. Or if you don't want to study from the material, completely your choice. You're not comfortable because your friend is studying some book, you want to read that book also. I'll just give one advice over here. मेरे 2 cents ले लो, बस एक advice है. Whatever material you are choosing, as in a coaching institute material, VisionIAS, somebody else's, or a book that you are choosing, stick to one source. Please stick to one source. Do not let anybody else come and tell you this topic is given very good in somebody else's notes, in this book or that book. You are not here to become a book collector. क्या बनने आए हो? District collector बनने आए हो, book collector नहीं बनने आए हो. Books पढ़ो, books पढ़ना होता है. You read books, as in there are lot of good books, but no need to read these UPSC content books, right? That's not what is required. So stick to any one source. Read a material of a coaching institute, a reputed coaching institute, or read any book. All books are good, all books are sold in the market. Just go to the bookshop, ask भैया सबसे ज़्यादा किताब कौन सी बिकती है इकोनॉमिक्स की, वो किताब ले लेना, जो भी किताब वो बोलेंगे, ठीक है. मैंने पर्सनली नहीं पढ़ी है, मैं कोई किताब, आई कांट वाउच फॉर एनी ऑफ दोज बुक्स, बट येस यू कैन रीड एनी ऑफ द बुक्स दैट यू वांट, राइट? दैट इज सोर्स. देन द थर्ड फाइनल सोर्स इज ऑब्वियसली करंट अफेयर्स. वी हैव गॉट मंथली करंट अफेयर्स, VisionIAS. ये फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट है, मालूम होगा तुम लोगों को. अगर नहीं मालूम है तो मैं तुमको बता देता हूँ. मंथली करंट अफेयर्स मैगजीन हमारी हर महीने हम प्रिंट करते हैं. इफ़ यू आर नॉट अ स्टूडेंट, यू विल नॉट गेट द हार्ड कॉपी, बट यू कैन स्टिल गेट द सॉफ्ट कॉपी फ्रॉम आवर वेबसाइट. Available free of cost for everybody, monthly current affairs. So this is a very good free source. Please obviously read that. But obviously the most important source is newspaper. In fact, I should have written newspaper first and monthly current affairs. This is first and MCS second. Newspaper, Don't read MCA, but read this. There is no sacrifice over here. Newspaper is the most important source, the most important. So there is absolutely no substitute of this thing, newspaper. Everybody who gets selected by reading newspapers only. Newspaper is that source which is source of questions, which is source of conceptual knowledge, and will link all your knowledge and current affairs across multiple chapters. I'll just take 5 more minutes and then I'll end this discussion. There is a problem, let me say, use the word problem for lack of a better word, or there's a unique feature of this subject, economics, and that is why many students, I don't know fear is the right word or not, but many students are not so comfortable in this subject, economics. The reason is quite simple. Why are they not comfortable? The reason is क्लास करने के बाद भी सवाल सॉल्व नहीं होते हैं. When you will attend 55-60 lectures, you will read these things, even then you will be in that position, यार क्वेश्चन सॉल्व नहीं हो रहे हैं, फिर लगे यार सवाल जब सॉल्व हो ही नहीं रहे तो फिर why should I attend all these classes, why should I waste my time on this thing. That's a unique problem. Why does economics have that problem? Understand this thing. Economics का जो question है, what you see in your prelims or mains exam, the question is not bound by these chapters. We will study economics in chapter format in the class, but the question is not bound by the chapter. The question would be, the statement would be from inflation, option 1 is from current account deficit, 2 from exchange rate, 3rd from government policy, 4th from some unemployment thing, and all 4 statements might be right over that. That means to answer that question you require knowledge of, clear understanding of all these 5 topics together, not just one topic. You can't segregate. आप ये नहीं है कि आप अब ये थोड़ा सा यूनिक बात आ जाती है. This is not, let's say, me trying to sell my subject as being the more intellectually stimulating one and the others not as that. Every subject has their own unique problems, own unique challenges. This is not like, let's say, history or polity that you can say, okay, I'll study fundamental rights and DPSPs and not some other part. If question on FR is asked, then you can answer that question. As in, there is a way to limit your preparation. But in economics case, a question will span multiple topics at the same time. That means it's not possible for you to say, okay, I've done this chapter and I'm ignoring the other chapters. You need a complete understanding of all the chapters taken together, and that becomes very challenging in itself. You can't segregate into these topics. But there, because there's a problem, there will be solution also. Newspaper comes to our great rescue. Is news bound by the chapter that we studied in the class? News तो bound नहीं है ना. But news में, if somebody is writing an article or Modi ji saying something, Nirmala ji saying something, some critique says some critique of government policy says something, then they will not limit themselves to only inflation. They'll talk about inflation and unemployment and monetary policy and government's taxes. They'll talk about all these things taken together. So when you read news in newspaper, that news is not bound by chapters, will be actually spanning all these aspects. So newspaper becomes the most important source of our preparation. Is this clear? So this is broadly how you prepare for this exam, for this subject. Start with PYQs, look at the videos, as in just look at the breadth and depth of question that is asked. Build a conceptual understanding from NCRTs and a comprehensive source which is updated, error-free, and as far as possible covers most of the topics. Our material is really good VisionIAS material, but it's your choice. You want to study from some other source, it's completely up to you. And the third source is newspapers and revising them from monthly current affairs. That is broadly speaking how you prepare for economics for this exam. Okay, clear hai? Now I'm done with this. If anyone has any questions specific to the subject or in general, please do ask. I'll take up your question for around 5 minutes. If not, then I'll take your leave. कुछ पूछना है किसी को? Anything with respect to this exam or economics in general, economics in particular or exam in general, anything anyone wants to ask? कुछ भी चीज़ पूछना चाहते हो पूछ सकते हो. Take your time, take 30-40 seconds to frame your question. If you want, I'll answer, otherwise I'll take your leave. नहीं? You are all from DU? Anybody? As in, you are all studying here in this, staying here in this area, nearby area only? Okay. ठीक है? चलो, बोलो हाँ बोलो. बेटा यही मैं बोल रहा था. You don't have to become a book collector. This is where corruption of preparation comes in. As a student, you would be tempted to cover everything. Covering everything is not possible and not required. You would come and point out fingers at the teacher कि sir आपने ये चीज़ नहीं पढ़ाई, or you will point out fingers at the book or the material that this book doesn't have that topic, and this question was asked in the exam, ignoring the 19 other topics that were taught or were there in the book. You earn a right to come and point fingers at me, as in not me particularly, but anybody in general, as in a person or a book, when you answer those remaining 19 questions correctly. So do not, this is a very big attitudinal shift that is required for you to, as in become a part of this exam journey and have a reasonable chance of selection. If you are thinking from the perspective, if you start thinking in this manner, मुझे एक source दे दो बस, वो पढ़ लूंगा मैं, मेरा सिलेक्शन हो जाएगा. If you think from this perspective, give me one source, give me one book, some magical book, and I will study from that, and that will cover everything, and that would be it. There is no such book that exists. Teachers will post their videos, their shorts, institute will post their videos. हाँ भाई, all the questions were asked from our classroom. बच्चों से पूछो ना, बच्चों की उन्होंने सवाल किए हैं एग्जाम में कि नहीं किए हैं. So as a institute, as a business, our competition is somewhere else. As a student, your interest lies somewhere else. Your interest should not be to solve 20 questions. It should be to solve as many questions as you could. So for that is why I said PYQs and these sources. If you focus on, don't become a book collector. If you focus on these sources, you would be in a reasonable position to answer the questions required for getting selected in the exam. Okay, that is what my point is. Don't try to bother for कि भाई यहाँ somebody says ये topic यहाँ से पढ़ लेना, नहीं पढ़ना, मुझे बात खत्म हो गई. मेरे I have a source, I'll study from that source itself. Fine, ठीक है. चलो, anything else? Yeah. Can you tell me what is dynamic versus what is static? Can you distinguish between current affairs and static? Again, let me answer the question. Completely acceptable coming from a student. As students, we get into these distinctions, which is very, very harmful for us. Sir, I want to study the static part and not the current affairs part, or current affairs and not the static part. There is no distinction between current affairs and static. There is no distinction. What is current affairs? Current affairs simply some static elements that are gaining prominence in discussions today. Because Supreme Court gives a judgment on something, Supreme Court, some case is going on some article in the Constitution, Supreme Court is talking about that. Does that become current affairs or static then? Because RBI is changing repo rate because of some change in monetary policy or some fiscal policy, does that become current affairs or static? Don't get into these distinctions of current affairs versus statics. You study concepts, and when you look at concepts, current affairs, they become a way to understand the concepts in totality, understand the concepts in a much better way. You have studied from Lakshmikant or Constitution, or let's say some book about what is a particular concept. Okay, this is article 14 or 15, 16, or this is a particular concept over here. But when same thing is happening in current affairs, in news, then you are developing a much better understanding of that concept. So don't separate that I have to study current affairs versus static. There is no distinction. Do not make this distinction. Students have, as in, suffered a lot because of this distinction. I've focused only on static part. I did not do current affairs. But why did you not do current affairs? What is this static part? Current affairs would only have enhanced your static understanding. Okay? So don't get into this distinction. Fine. There might be something which is purely current affairs of nature, such as, let's say, some policy that the government has come up with. Government says we are coming up with some new scheme, for example. Now that new scheme, might be, yes, we have, let's say, Kisan Sampada Yojana, PM Kisan Yojana. There is a scheme. Now that has less basis in a concept over it, that becomes purely current affairs wala part. That is a different case. For those things, every current affair element would be as random as the other one. You can't then study about Modi ji went to this country, that country. Current affairs का question है, arrange the countries in which he visited in a particular order. पहले किस में गए, दूसरी बार किस में गए, ये भी तो current affairs का सवाल है. अब there is no limit to such things. So government has come up with some schemes. The schemes that you recall are more than enough. Don't bother, don't waste too much of your time and take pressure over here that you did not know about some random scheme named after some random person. Don't bother that too much about those things. Focus on understanding concept and building concepts better through current affairs, news that take place around you. That is how you go about preparation. Okay, got it? Chalo. With this, I'll take your leave, everybody. Take care, all the best. The next teacher, Himanshu Sir, is over here. He'll talk about history. Fine? Chalo.
afternoon. So I'm going to take what you call as modern Indian history. तो वो वाला part लेंगे. This is a small PPT which I have prepared so that we are more organized. Myself Himanshu Khatri, I am a 2014 batch IRS officer. I resigned in 2020, and that was before all the other teachers, which you see, they resigned. So therefore it was for teaching actually, not for any business purposes that I resigned. So I teach world history, modern history and post independence India hai. So these are the handouts. Sessions mein so I have a different perspective to what you call as how to think about history. I come from science background, so therefore that's why a slightly different perspective and slightly more I would say structured perspective I try to have, because that's how I can understand, and that's why I help students also understand. So for example, syllabus, right? So there is no point of discussing syllabus here because all of you can very easily get syllabus from the internet, but how to look at syllabus, right? So therefore the thought process is that what is your job profile, where exactly you are trying to get job. So you are trying to get job in state. State is an organization that rules a territory and its people, right? And there you are trying to have a job. And what is structure of the state? Structure of the state is the person who is symbolic sovereign, right? And then there is a legislature, there is a executive, and there is a judiciary. Like any company also has branches, this organization also has branches. Executive is defined as ministers, and under them two kind of servants are there, civil servants and military servants. Okay, you want to get here, so you want to get into the executive branch of the state, right? And here you give UPSC paper, here you give ballot paper, right? This exam is conducted by UPS Commission, this exam is conducted by Election Commission. Notice commission, right? Similarly, if you want to get here, then you have to give exam, or you can be lawyer for 10 years, and after that you can get appointed, right? Like you have 3 stages: prelims, mains and interview, right? For a minister there are also 3 stages. First he has to become MP, then he has to be from the party which gets majority, and then he has to be so powerful that he is appointed as minister, right? To become prime minister, 4th stage is there, that among those ministers also you should be number 1, right? You get job for life, they get job only for 5 years, right? So first of all you should respect the politicians. They are the choice of the people and their life is extremely tough, right? You can study in your room and you can do well, whereas politicians, they may do very, very hard, but ultimately everything depends upon perception of the public. That is, external locus of control is very, very high, right? So therefore उनको आपका काम नहीं पसंद आया तो नहीं पसंद आया, ठीक है? जबकि तुम्हारे लिए क्या है, you can sit in the room and you can prepare. Internal locus of control is relatively very, very high, so you have chosen a relatively less risky path, right? So therefore high risk high reward, low risk low reward. That's why servant, right? So therefore right, that is the thought process. Now if Google was recruiting you, will not, in the interview of the Google, what will be the questions? Will they not expect you to know the history of Google, right? Here the state is recruiting you, so here the expectation is to know the history of the states which have ruled the different territories of our civilization and its people. And are there any learnings from those states' failures and successes? Can we repeat those successes? Can we adapt to the present times, right? Those successes, can we learn, can we prevent the mistakes? Because for the first time in history in our civilization, on 26th of January 1950, a nation state was established. Earlier the states were established by kings, right? It is nation state, nation is people. Will it also fail or will it survive? There are many negative forces, right? Inside also and outside also, right? So therefore whether this nation state will survive or not, and for that purposes you people are getting recruited, because everyone knows that this state faces many problems, right? Economic problems, social problems, international problems. It needs able hands, and that's why you people are getting recruited, right? So first thing should be very, very clear in your mind, that whenever you read the Hindu or the Indian Express, right? So therefore any organization does not want to recruit a person who 24/7 criticizes that organization only. There is no virtue in criticizing the nation state 24/7, 24/7, 24/7, right? So therefore you can have all the love for environment, right? And you can go to jail, I don't care, If you are going to hurt my nation state, then your place is in jail, right? Especially on the basis of law. If you're going to hurt my nation state and you're going to do anti-pollution protests, but in that protest you're going to hail Naxalites, right, who wanted to disturb this nation state, who wanted to weaken this nation state, I don't care, right? I don't care that whether photographs are published whereby police is taking good care of you, right? That is my loyalty as an employee, and that is my loyalty to the people, because this state is not established by any king. This state is established by the people. We, the people of India, give ourselves this constitution, says the preamble. So it is not the state that you are opposing, it's the nation state that you are opposing. Opposing is good, because opposition nahi hoga to solutions will not come, but that does not mean opposing for the sake of opposing. Especially, what is the ethic of a bureaucrat or a UPSC aspirant? Problems are there. If you want to only highlight those problems, join politics, start an NGO. We want solution providers, right? That what is the solution to that problem, right? And that's where the state needs the help of able hands, right? Hard-working people, right? That's why this exam is there based on meritocracy. So first of all, your ethics should be very, very clear, that what is the exam that you are preparing for, what is your mandate. Your mandate is service to the people through the nation state, and that nation state is not out there to hurt people. That nation state is there to work for the people, because it is of the people and by the people, right? So therefore that's like introductory speech, right? But it is genuine, right? So first of all, you should know why you're preparing, and that's why now if you look at, so state is organization that rules a territory and its people. All the history syllabus, in fact the whole UPSC syllabus, is about the state, the territory and its people. Example, ancient history, early Indian societies and states. See how they language use, right? The use of language and states, right? So Vedic period, Mahajanpadas. What are Mahajanpadas? They were powerful kingdoms. They are a form of state, right? So learn something from them, right? What were their pros, what were their cons, right? Similarly, when you say Mauryan Empire, Gupta Empire, empire is nothing but summation of kingdoms, or empire is basically a large kingdom, right? So again, that is also a state. Kingdom is a state where the head of the state is chosen by a bloodline. Republic is a state where the head of the state is chosen through elections, right? Either indirect elections, like in our case, or direct elections, like United States of America, right? So therefore again, it is states. Harsha dynasty is not the bloodline, but this is nothing but another state, right? So therefore this is all history of states, right? That is what was their administration, what was their structure, did they also have LEJ, what there any system of checks and balances, how that functioned well, how did that not function well. And then you have people. Common man does not want to be MP, MLA minister. Common man wants economic security, physical security, socio-cultural security. And common man expresses herself in art, in way of life. When you read novels, it has stories of common man. When you have art, it depicts the life of the common people. Religion is very, very important for the common man, right? So therefore art and culture of the common man, right? Society, interpersonal relations of the common people, right? So therefore you see Buddhism related to common people, Jainism related to common people. Again, when you move to the south, again you have kingdoms. That is nothing but states, right? Headed by Cholas, Cheras, Pandyas, right? Different territories ruled by different states. So what were their uniqueness? What kind of military they had, right? What kind of innovations they did with respect to administration or anything. So this is nothing. It's nothing. The syllabus is nothing. It is simply history of states and its people, right? And what to learn from it. Similarly, if you look at medieval history, same thing you will see, right? Ascent and decline of states. यहाँ पे dynasty बोला है. Dynasty is nothing but a state where the head of the state is chosen by bloodline, right? Like Delhi Sultanate, which ruled a territory in North India. Similarly, Vijayanagar Empire, which is Tamil Nadu plus Kerala plus Karnataka, right? At least around, right? Andhra Pradesh, right? थोड़ा तेलंगाना भी एक समय पे. Then Bahmani Sultanate in Deccan. Deccan is Maharashtra plus Telangana region. And Mughal Empire. Empire is again state, right? So why certain states rise, ascend? Why certain states decline? And will this nation state also decline someday, or it will have a long life? right? I should know, so that my nation state survives, because for the first time in the history we have a nation state, right, properly. So therefore let us learn from their ascent, let us learn from their decline, right? Similarly, then the life of the common people, that is socio-cultural aspects, that is religious movements, again bhakti movement, Sufi movement, literature, because in literature you talk about life of the people, right? So that is what it is, right? Again the same, right? Similarly is the case with respect to art and culture and society, are two topics which are dedicated to common people. Art and culture and society are two topics which are related to common people, right? So therefore it's no art, architecture, this kind of art, that kind of art, right? That's fine, that's okay. So therefore some kind of structure it is brought, but it is how a common person expresses himself or herself, right? His problems, his achievements, and so on and so forth, right? Modern Indian history में same thing it is there, right? तो वही है. तो इस तरीके से बाकी थोड़ा सा इस पे टाइम मैं कम देना चाहता हूँ ताकि आगे और ज़्यादा आपको थोड़ा सा क्रिटिकल चीज़ ना. वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री, सो बेसिकली अर्थ इज ऑल्सो टेरिटरी. व्हाट डू मीन बाय सुपर पावर? सुपर स्टेट, राइट? सुपर स्टेट dominates the whole earth and its people. Rise and fall of superpower, that is largely, you know, what you call as the world history syllabus, right? Existence of how different unification of Italy, unification of Germany, right? So therefore when did the, you know, Germans, they said that we are one nation and we also want to have a state, right? Unification of Germany, similarly unification of Italy. Or industrial revolution, because that changed the economy and the life of the people, and that, you know, always remember, machine gun is also a machine, right? And military is part of the state, right? So industrial revolution and its impacts. So basically this forms the world wars, because world war resulted in what you call as rise and fall of superpowers, right? So therefore that becomes the syllabus. Okay, so syllabus it's okay, right? French Revolution comes from the French Revolution, gave the idea that nation is summation of people who are one, equal and supreme. One, fraternity, equal, equality, supreme, liberty, liberty, equality, fraternity, right? So from that came the concept of nation, and therefore nation is supreme, national interest is sarvopari, and that nation has formed a state. Example, republic, where representative of public will be the head of the state, right? Where the representatives of public will sit in constituent assembly and draft a constitution which will create the state structure. तो इसलिए हम पढ़ते हैं फ्रेंच रेवोल्यूशन की ट्रांजिशन कैसे हुआ फ्रॉम किंगडम्स टू नेशन स्टेट्स. That's why we study French Revolution, American Revolution, democracy in Britain, right? And world wars. World wars, rise and fall of superpowers, right? और nation है but divided into multiple states, but वो साथ आया in the form of unification of Italy, in the form of unification of Germany 1870. ठीक है ना? तो वो सब चीज़ें हैं. कम्युनिस्ट रेवोल्यूशन वो सब भी देखते हैं. नाउ ज़्यादा काम की बात पे आते हैं, हाउ टू रीड अ बुक. ठीक है, बिकॉज यू आर स्टार्टिंग योर यूपीएससी प्रिपरेशन. ठीक है, ये वाला मेथड आपको शायद से पसंद नहीं आएगा, क्योंकि मुझे भी पसंद नहीं आता. आज के टाइम पे भी करने की कोशिश करता हूँ तो अंदर से रेजिस्टेंस आता है क्या, बट ये साइंटिफिक मेथड है. बिकॉज आई वॉज फेसिंग प्रॉब्लम विद रिस्पेक्ट टू हाउ टू रीड अ बुक फास्ट, एंड देन आई स्टडीड अ बुक on how to read fast. right, renowned book, right? तो उस पे ये technique थी. In first reading, read like a novel. That is, you will not lift a pen, you will not lift a pencil, and you are simply reading. Maybe only 10% you will be able to understand, but still read it. Psychology was my optional. Trust me, it creates in your subconscious mind some kind of structure you are not aware of, but a structure is created. And verification comes when you do second reading. Second reading you do in normal pace. यहाँ पे your focus is read fast. In second reading you read slow. But trust me, when you do that, after this you will feel as if you already know it. Right, that sense will be there. At that point of time you can underline and you can highlight. If you start underlining in the first reading itself, you will highlight and underline everything. आपका पूरा का पूरा NCERT रंग बिरंगा हो जाएगा. क्योंकि हम क्या अंडरलाइन करते हैं, जो हमको मुश्किल लगता है वो अंडरलाइन करते हैं. और जब हम पहली बार कोई चीज़ पढ़ रहे तो हमको सब कुछ मुश्किल लगता है. वी फाइंड एवरीथिंग टफ व्हेन वी आर रीडिंग एनीथिंग फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. ऑल ऑफ यू ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंड हिंदी, राइट? हिंदी ओके? नो? ओके, आई विल स्पीक इन इंग्लिश, राइट? व्हेन वी रीड एनीथिंग फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम वी फाइंड एवरीथिंग टफ, राइट? एंड देयरफॉर वी ओवर हाईलाइट, राइट? सो देयर इज नो यूज. वी शुड, once we read second time, so most probably certain things we already understand, so we will highlight less, right? Because some things will become commonsensical to us. Okay, and Notes we make only after third reading, right? Because if you start making notes after second reading or during second reading, your notes will be nothing but shorter in font. You will remove A, E, I, O, U, right? Otherwise it's a photocopy. Those notes are your actual own notes which are in your language. You cannot write the word constitution in your own language. So fine, some words are fixed, but rest of the language, if it is in your own language, those are your real notes. That means somewhere processing took place here, right? If you're simply copy pasting, just trying to reduce the size by removing A, E, I, O, U, removing grammar things, sorry, these are fraud notes, right? Which you made when you went to exam in college to take farras with you, right? You are not making farras, you are making your own notes, right? Your own language, right? And this mistake is done by everyone. I also did. In fact, whole book, not one book, multiple books, I made notes like this, and later I realized it was all waste of time. Had to redo it again, right? Notes are those which are having your own organization, your own thoughts, right? So एक example देता हूँ. Polity is a subject which every one of you will study. Never make notes of polity. Article 1 is equal to this, article 2. No. No use at all. Read with understanding and then ask some commonsensical questions to yourself. What are the different kind of things done by constitution for women? Then you make notes that okay, these fundamental rights are given, these DPSPs are related to women, these legal rights are related to women, right? This is how political representation for women in the parliament, right? These subjects of the 7th schedule relate to women, right? So therefore that's how you focus. Then you will be able to, then you will feel that I know what constitution does for women. Otherwise, if you do article 1, article 2, article 3, article 4, you'll continue to read it again and again, but you'll always feel this tension that it's like an ocean which I have to remember, but I'm not able to memorize, right? So therefore ask logical questions. What does constitution does for poor? What does constitution does for scheduled caste, for scheduled types, for minorities, for children, for women, for old age people, right? And then you will have this thing. What does constitution does for different regions, for tribal areas? There you will, then you will have a structure. Okay, tribal areas are categorized into northeast tribal areas, central India tribal areas. Northeast tribal areas 6th schedule, central India tribal areas 5th schedule. What is the difference between 5th and 6th? Why two different ones? Why not have one schedule only? Then you'll ask thus such commonsensical questions whose answer will definitely not be there in Lakshmikant, because that is the farra. Books like Lakshmikant, they sell well because they create an illusion in the mind of the student that they have read the whole institution under. They tell the what of the constitution, they never tell the why. Example, why indirect elections in Rajya Sabha and why direct elections in Lok Sabha? Why not have reverse? Let's have. And in Government of India Act 1935 in the British time period, there were direct elections in the Rajya Sabha and indirect elections in the Lok Sabha. Nahi, Lakshmikant will tell you simply indirect elections, right? ऐसे होते हैं, direct elections ऐसे होते हैं in Lok Sabha, Rajya. That's it. Why? Why not reverse? Right? Only when you will become a thinking student, only then. And that's how we also study history, by asking these logical questions, right? So make notes only in the third reading. Now, how to make notes? Once you have done third reading, right? So always try to imagine. Example, this was this Desai-Liaquat Pact when Quit India movement was going on from 1942 to 45. So therefore, British had said that they are ready to give dominion status to Indians after World War II. However, Indians, they had to come to some kind of an agreement with respect to sharing of power, which will be given by the Britishers. And there was dispute between Muslim League and Indian National Congress. So Bulla Bhai Desai, who was who was leader of Indian National Congress in the Central Legislative Assembly, and Liaquat Ali, who was second highest leader of Muslim League and was there in Central Legislative Assembly, they came together on some agreement and they presented this proposal to the Britishers. Later on, Jinnah refused the knowledge of the pact, so therefore the pact did not move ahead. But the proposal to the Britishers was that Britishers, you are transferring power to us in legislature, you are transferring power to us in executive. This is the manner in which you transfer power. In executive, that is in cabinet, Governor General and Commander in Chief, they can be British, but rest of the ministers, 50% INC ministers, 50% Muslim League ministers. Right? We have reached agreement on this. Similarly, in the legislature, you give 20% seats to scheduled caste, Sikh, but rest of the seats 50% to Muslim League, 50% to INC. This as a temporary measure. Baki, when proper constitution will be framed by the Indians, then we will decide that how seat sharing etc. will take place. Right? Ab itna sab yaad karna. Can we not do it in the form of a flowchart? Right? And can we not have a mnemonic? Imagine that you have a friend, Desai, and you love these biscuits called 50-50. Right? So therefore mnemonic, Desai, liya, 50-50 crackjack. You want to have tea, 50-50 crackjack biscuits. This is my crack, see, although 50-50 are square shapes, but so let's say this is one biscuit, this is another biscuit, this is cabinet, this is legislature, right? All Indians except DG and CIC, rest 50-50. 20% minorities, that is Sikh and scheduled caste, rest 50-50. Easy to remember, you will never forget it. Why? Because you imagined it. You imagined it in very simple terms, right? This photograph you will be able to clearly see, right? So things are simplified, right? And rest of the details, in no election right now, only nomination. Proposal had support of Gandhiji. Jinnah refused any knowledge of this pact, right? So Bullabh Bhai Desai, leader of INC, Liaquat Ali, so miscellaneous things are here, but key part it is here, right? So therefore this is the way you can make notes rather than just studying in paragraph format, right? Similarly, for example, this is on unification of Italy. So imagine that you are reading this. Sicily and Naples were liberated from the despotic rule of Ferdinand II by the revolutionary fighters led by Garibaldi. So first of all, if you are not honest, you do not know where is Sicily and Naples, and you are rote learning this. If you lie to yourself, you never clear UPSC. Then led by Garibaldi and consequently brought under Sardinia monarchy. You do not know where is Sardinia, and you are trying to rote learn this. In 1860, and the Kingdom of Italy was established. Venice was annexed by Italy in 1866 by taking advantage of Austro-Prussian War of 1866. Now only Rome was left. The Pope had the protection of the French troops. Weakened by the Franco-Prussian War of 1870, the French could not support the Pope anymore, and in 1871, Rome was annexed and made the capital of Italy, therefore completing the process of unification. Right? Complex, so many moving parts. How to use maps to study. This is a map of Italy, right? The black, where you begin with 0, these two territories are part of Kingdom of Sardinia, which was independent before unification itself. Then 1.1, 1.2, 2.0, 3.04. 1.1, this small territory, it was given to France by Sardinia in return for support in a war against Austria, whereby France plus Sardinia versus Austria 1860. Let's go to 1.2. This is North Italy. North Italy was captured from Austria in 1860. Okay, so this territory is given to France. France helps Sardinia to take this from Austria, right? 1.2. 2.0. Kingdom of Two Sicilies, Sicily and Naples, Franz Ferdinand, जो ऊपर लिखा था, captured by Garibaldi, and therefore Kingdom of Italy established with Sardinia, yellow part and red part. 1860 Kingdom of Italy established. Then third point, Venice or Venetia. Venice captured from Austria. How? Well, Prussia and Sardinia, they came together in a war against Austria. Right? Prussia gained something, वो हम अलग से पढ़ते हैं, तो ठीक है, ये वाला territory भी आ गया. So that is 1866. This part also came. Only this part is left now. That is Rome, called People States, and France used to give protection to them. Now France was fighting war with Prussia. Therefore France was busy, could not come to help the Pope. Papal States conquered and added to Kingdom of Italy in 1870. Right? When you do this on your own example and you have this map, while revising, will this not lead to much better memory? Imagine. We need to always imagine, and we need to be truthful to ourselves. Never study anything. मतलब पढ़ो, but maybe in the third revision you are going to clear. First revision clear some doubts, second revision clear other doubts, third revision clear the balance doubts. In each revision go on clearing doubts, but never stop asking questions, never rote learn. Even if you have to rote learn, think, because right now time is less, therefore as a temporary measure I am rote learning, right? But always ask questions. And now to you have AI with you. Now you can ask, who was Ferdinand, who was Garibaldi, why Pope was ruling papal states, Pope is a religious person, how he is a king, when did he become a king? If these questions are popping up in your mind, don't neglect, ask. Satisfaction, ultimately result will be this, but you will be a satisfied student. You will not feel that you are rote learning. Similarly, this is Pitt's India Act. Okay, in the Pitt's India Act, political affairs of the East India Company were now under control of British state via Board of Control, which was to control civil, military and revenue government of British territorial possessions in East Indies. Court of Directors of EIC were to send all incoming and outgoing letters to the Board of Control. Board of Control could pass binding orders to COD, that is Court of Directors, and to GG, Governor General. Therefore, dual control over GG, that is two bosses, the Court of Directors and the Board of Control. Now GG's council size was modified to GG and 3 councillors. GG was also given regular vote along with casting vote. Therefore, even with 1 councillor, the GG could get his proposal approved. Governors of Bombay and Madras were now under GG in matters of war, peace and revenue, and powers were clearly defined to remove vagueness. You will not understand it fully because you have not done the regulating Act 1773, right? Dual control of GG meant no control, as GG played his 2 bosses, the Court of Directors and the Board of Control. Indecision decreased but still continued as no veto with GG. Conflict between GG and Commander-in-Chief of EIC Army as decision of war with GG but right to use army with Commander-in-Chief. ऐसा याद करना बड़ा tough है. This is India, this is London. In India, you have Bombay under Governor of Bombay, you have Madras under Governor of Madras. Their boss is GG in Calcutta, who is now having a council of 3 councillors, where in Bengal, and he is the boss of Bombay and Madras, that is subordinate to 2. I could have wrote here war and peace and revenue, subordinate to 2 @ war, peace and revenue. And this GG in council is further subordinated to Court of Directors in London, and Court of Directors is also junior to Board of Control. And Board of Control can also directly give orders to Governor General. Court of Directors तो दे ही सकता है order, but Board of Control can give order to COD also and directly to GG also. Therefore, if you look at GG, he can receive direct orders from 2 people, one from Court of Directors, one from Board of Control. So he has 2 bosses, right? This is a structure which is created. This is London, this is India. At the top you have Board of Control, under that Court of Directors. In India you have GG, under GG you have Bombay and Madras, that is Governor of Bombay, Governor of Madras, Governor General, right? Easy है. In that paragraph कितना tough लग रहा था, so much complex English. Green में problems है, मैंने वहाँ लिखा था dual control of GG meant no control, as GG played his 2 bosses, meaning the way you played your mummy and papa, है ना? Papa called, where are you? Oh papa, mummy had given some work to me, therefore I had gone there to do that work, है ना? Mummy, where are you? अरे मम्मी वो आपने वो पापा ने कुछ काम दे दिया था. ऐसा करते हैं कभी कभी, है ना? Played 2 bosses because it leads to lack of clarity, है ना? Played 2, and especially India is far away. If mummy and papa were able to easily talk to each other, they will clarify that you are lying. But what if papa was out of station and mummy was in Delhi? India is very far away from London. Therefore, you can play the 2 bosses. And any letter will take 1 year to reach or 6 months to reach on an average. So before clarification, etc. So issue can be there. So khair, look at the problem. Problem of 2 bosses. Therefore, GG acted more independently, played 2 masters against each other. प्रॉब्लम ऑफ नो वीटो ये भी लिखा हुआ है ऊपर, नो राइट टू यूज आर्मी ये भी लिखा हुआ है ऊपर. देखो कॉन्फ्लिक्ट बिटवीन जीजी एंड कमांडर इन चीफ because right to use army was with commander in chief. Basically the thought process is not to teach you a topic, the thought process is how can we reduce complexity to simplicity, right, with the help of let's say flowchart based notes, map based notes, right, after understanding. Similarly this is also another example, right, that is what was the impact of industrial revolution on India. I'm not going to get into the detail but you get a sense of it, right. So that's how you make notes. Current affairs. This year in the mains a question came that please tell us about works and contribution of Mahatma Jyotirao Phule with respect to social reforms in Maharashtra. Why that question came? No book gives details on Mahatma Jyotirao Phule, only in one paragraph they wrap it up, but a whole 250 word question came. Why? Because this year itself in March 2025 Maharashtra Assembly recommended the names of husband and wife Jyotirao Phule and Savitribai Phule for Bharat Ratna. On 15th of August, Prime Minister said that we are going to celebrate 200th anniversary of Jyotiba Phule, right. So therefore that's how you make use of the current affairs. Therefore you cannot be just limited to books. Books will cover most of the questions, but there can be questions in history also which are inspired from current affairs. Similarly, for example, in prelims a question could have come. This is a portrait of a Goan freedom fighter who fought against Portuguese. In none of the standard books her name is there, but this came in Indian Express. In prelims they could have asked, they did not ask, that is a separate matter, but they could have asked. As a mural comes up in Panji, the muse, a 99-year-old Goan freedom fighter looks on from her balcony. So she is alive also at this point of time. So therefore इस तरीके से you need to think about current affairs and history. Then overall weightage, if you see in GS paper 1 it is 20% to 30%. If I talk about mains, right, you can use history, especially when I teach history I ensure that if I am taking 3 hours or 2.5 hours of my student, then my purpose, I did not resign from the services to teach history, I resigned from the services to teach for UPSC, because this is a very emotional journey, right. So therefore while reading history, can I just by taking 2.5 hours of the student, can I reduce half an hour of the student in economics, in international relations? Because what is history? History is general studies before 1947. History is general studies before 1947. You study about society also, you study about politics also, you study about geopolitics also, right. So can we do interconnections, right, and that knowledge of history can be used in international relations. That knowledge of history can be used in society. For example, अभी रशिया यूक्रेन वॉर अगर हो रहा है, so therefore its roots are back there, you know, in the Cold War, right. So if you are doing world history, so therefore you will be able to understand the Russia-Ukraine war much easier. In fact, you will not be that much troubled at all, especially because foreign policy moves like an elephant, very slow. In society, for example, social reforms, right, कैसे? अभी 2023 में women got reservation in parliament, right. In government of, it was in Government of India Act 1919 that for the first time women got right to vote. In Government of India Act 1935 women got reservation with separate electorates, that is in a constituency which is reserved for ladies, only ladies will vote, men and other genders will not vote. In Constitution of India 1950 that right to that reservation was taken away. So Constitution of India 1950 was regressive, it was a step back, because the reservation is being taken away from women, because we thought that in independent India the women leadership will automatically in a natural manner also come up, right, but it did not. Ultimately in 2023 reservation has been brought, but with joint electorates. That means in a constituency which is reserved for ladies, men and other genders, they will also get right to vote, right. So therefore you see how you can use Government of India Act 1919, right, and contribution of Sarojini Naidu, because she was the one who campaigned for right to vote to women, and Government of India Act 1935 and the Constitution of India 1950 as an introductory paragraph. Let's say if any question comes on GS paper 2 also in polity, and there are multiple such examples, right. There are multiple such examples. Example, if you talk about that how in the Constitution of India universal adult franchise was adopted even when most of our population was uneducated, Then, well, it was the Lucknow Pact of 1916, whereby Bal Gangadhar Tilak, right, Annie Besant, along with Jinnah, they demanded to the Britishers that in the next constitutional reforms, please give universal adult franchise to Indians. In 1916, such faith is shown by our leaders, Tilak, right, Annie Besant, etc., right, with respect to people that they should have universal adult franchise, right. So therefore, that can be used as an introduction, right. Britain got universal adult franchise only in 1928-29, whereas our leaders were thinking about universal adult franchise in 1916. How forward-looking they were, how much faith they had in the people, even when the people were uneducated. तो ये सब चीज़ यूज़ करें, बहुत सारी जगह है ऐसा, ठीक है, that you can use, right. Then polity for constitutional history, I just gave you the example. Example, Article 356, right. So therefore, in the Government of India Act 1919, Article 356 like wordings are there. In Government of India Act 1919, Article 356 like wordings are there, whereby if constitutional machinery breaks down in a state, then Governor, Shasan, President rule can be applied. Fifth schedule, whereby Governor is given special power with respect to tribals in Central India. That is there in Government of India Act 1935. Right? So, polity will simply tell you that how, in a broad way, that how our constitution is inspired from the British. When you study constitutional history of British India, then you exactly know, and you know more than Lakshmikant, that this is how, you know, our constitution is inspired from the British. Right? Yes, sir. Economy, origin and struggles of indigenous industries. So when you study, today we are doing Make in India. Swadeshi movement of 1905 was about Make in India. An appeal to the people, please buy made in India, buy Indian products. Please boycott British products. Right? So in a way, we are struggling for Make in India since 1905 or even before. Because British industrialization meant our deindustrialization. And the struggle is continuing in 2020s also, which is proof in itself how much Britishers they looted us. India used to contribute 25% to 33% to the world of the world GDP, right, until 1700s, right, and by our independence we were contributing only 4%, right. Our GDP growth rate from 1900 to 1947 was 0.01%, right. So therefore, those are the struggles. If you know these things in history, you understand that what is the level of, you know, work. Right? Otherwise, a normal student keeps on wondering, "Arey, it has been more than 70 years. We have been independent. Right? Kab pata nahi hoga Make in India? When will we do Make in India?" है ना? People are defeatist mindset. They don't understand that how for 200 years Britishers they looted and how much they looted. Right? तो उसको recover करने के लिए, if we even take half the time, that is 100 years. And that is the goal of the government also, that by 2047 India will be Viksit Bharat. So you tell me that 200 years, ek to Aurangzeb's wars, right, of 50 years, right, GDP growth rate was flat as such, not very great. Then loot by the Britishers for 200 years. So mota moti 250 years, if that 250 years loss we are able to recover in 100 years, is that not a good achievement there? Which country has been able to become fourth largest economy in the world within a span of what you call as 10 plus 35 years? Because before liberalization, privatization, globalization, we were a third world country, stagnation. Our real growth came after 1991 only. Right? So therefore, whether you want, if you know history, you will not be defeatist. Right? Otherwise, you will always, you are trained to be defeatist here. Right? Itna training ho chuka hai that if someone praises India, you don't trust that person. Like, we require a white face. If a white person will say India was great, then like, okay, must be true. If a brown person says India was great, like, nah, must be belonging to some political party, nah, must be a lie, nah. That is the inferiority complex, thanks to our education minister, Macaulay, 1835. Right, brown from outside, British from inside. Right, systemic. Because India was a great civilization, they knew about our civilization, how to dominate that civilization by killing it here and by killing it here. Right? So if you know all of these things, you will be able to, in a balanced manner, appreciate not any political party, but this nation, that what this nation has achieved from 1947 until now. Right? Otherwise, you'll be, by reading the Hindu, you will go in depression. Right? You'll go in depression. Right? So therefore, you know all of these things. Ethics, may you can use it. There are many ethical dilemmas which are there in history. Right? When you study Mahatma Gandhi's versus Netaji Bose versus Bhagat Singh versus B.R. Ambedkar ji. So there are many ethical dilemmas which are there. Right? So how these people, they resolve those ethical dilemmas. And essay mein to, essay is basically your whole exam. Your optional plus all GS 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? When you have studied that, only then you go for essay. So therefore you can borrow anything. Right? Anecdotes. Right? So therefore value is not limited to what you call as history, but in other subjects also. Overall जो themes हैं, the themes are what you call as conquest by AIC, that is how a company was able to conquer us. Then what was the rule of the company like, how that rule hurt economic security, physical security, socio-cultural security of the common people, that they revolted. Right? That is what was the response of the Indians. Our response was initially violent in the form of revolts. Pre-1857 revolts, 1857 revolt, and some post-1857 revolts. But look at the spirit of the people. When guns failed, then pen came out. We started modern Indian national movement. We studied the British political structure, the Western polity, and through those methods of modern politics, by writing editorials, by becoming MLAs and MPs, we tried to criticize in a very decent political manner, in a very logical manner. We tried to convince the Britishers that what is good for India and how you are wrong. But when pen failed, then people came out. But this time, not with guns, but with street protests under Lal Balapal, Sri Aurobindo, our extremist leaders from 1905 till 1920. Then around 1907, British had put these leaders in jail. So it seemed that after failure of pen, even people have failed. Then guns came out, right, in the form of revolutionaries, right, and these revolutionaries were better than 1857 and pre-1857, because the revolutionaries of 1857, pre-1857 did not want democracy. They wanted kings to be back. But from 1907 onwards, the goal is rule of the people. That is, nation state was the goal, right? So therefore we study about revolutionaries. Those revolutionaries were also persecuted, and by 1920 or 18, such a feeling was there that pen has also failed, people have also failed, guns have also failed. Then also India did not lose. Phada poster nikla hero, Mahatma Gandhi, right? That is Gandhian era from 1920 onwards. A unique method, non-violence plus people, right? And meanwhile, the revolutionary, they still continued. We have in 1920s, we have Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev, Rajguru, Chandrasekhar Azad, Bhagwati Charan Mohra. In 1930s, we have Surya Sen in Chittagong, present-day Bangladesh. In 1940s, we have Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, his Azad Hind Fauj, INA. So revolutionaries are continuing. It's a parallel struggle. It was not just Gandhian story. Gandhiji was like Sachin Tendulkar, but it was a cricket match. So Yuvraj Singh and Dhoni and Sehwag and Ganguly were also required, right? So therefore, that way we have respect for our revolutionaries also, and we have respect for Mahatma Gandhi also, right? In many of the coaching institutes, you will study the historical leaders as if the teacher is apologetic, as if he feels that if he praises the revolutionaries, then it means dispraise to Gandhiji. No, we are not shallow people. We know how to respect all, right? So therefore we recognize contribution of everyone, right? So therefore that was the response. Then another response was in the form of social reforms. So we study about social reforms, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Swami Vivekananda, wahan se lekar wahan tak we study that. Then certain issues of peasants, right, that is their land revenue, their rents, issues of workers, that is their wages, issues of capitalists. So these are like issues of women. So all of these like miscellaneous. People focus is there 30%, 70% is state focus, राइट, दैट इज द फोकस ऑफ होल यूपीएससी ऑल्सो, राइट। तो इस तरीके से ये सारा का सारा चीज़ ये है, और इसी तरीके से यूपीएससी ने क्वेश्चन पूछे हैं, राइट। इशू रिलेटेड टू नेशन, स्टेट एंड टेरिटरी, राइट। बाकी मार्क्स वाइज अगर देखा जाए, ब्रॉडली इवन डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इज देयर. If you see 8 here, that is Gandhian mass movements. But then Gandhian mass movements are non-cooperation movement. Rowlatt Satyagraha 1919, non-cooperation movement 1920, civil disobedience movement 1930, Quit India movement 1942. So there are 4. So you divide 8 by 4, 2. Broadly even है, right, allocation, right. Otherwise मतलब on an average 4 to 5 questions they have asked in the previous years. So therefore yes, for example this year I was guessing, मतलब ये मैं ऐसा random praise नहीं कर रहा हूँ, I told my students that potentially question can come. I thought that time for repeat can be for this social reforms also, because last question had come in 2019 and 2021, right. So therefore it was overdue that some question is asked on social reforms. They asked on Jyotirao Phule, right. What do you learn from this? There is no gain as such of doing previous 3-year questions, right. Notice the pattern. होता है कभी कभी कि 2 year में भी रिपीट हो जाता है, बट यहाँ probability बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाती है कि 4 years have gone by and UPSC has not asked anything, right, and it is a major theme, ठीक. Similarly नेक्स्ट ईयर देख लेना, अब ये मेंस आने वाला है, ठीक है, तो देखना अभी क्या रहेगा 2026 में, कैसे ये 2020 में पूछा, 21 में पूछा, यहाँ पे भी काफ़ी टाइम हो गया, राइट. मुझे नहीं लगता, मतलब सोशल रिफॉर्म्स पढ़ने चाहिए बट दोबारा नहीं पूछना चाहिए आइडियली यूपीएससी को, बिकॉज अदर टॉपिक्स आर ऑल्सो देयर, ठीक है. रिवोल्ट्स तो 23 में ही पूछा है, इट्स ओके. ये 22 में पूछा है तो दैट इज़ ऑल्सो फाइन, पूछा जा सकता है, बट 4 years. बट मैक्सिमम कहाँ है, 21 में इधर है, इधर तो पूछते ही रहते हैं, ठीक है. 24, 23, 21, 20, ठीक है, मोर लेस इस तरीके से 2019, तो यहाँ से एक क्वेश्चन. एंड ये 2 एरियाज, दैट इज़ मॉडरेट्स एंड एक्सट्रीमिस्ट एंड प्रोसेस ऑफ ट्रांसफर ऑफ पावर. यहाँ पे टाइम पीरियड हो जाएगा 6 years, एंड वहाँ पे तो इस तरीके से थ्रू एनालिसिस ऑफ द प्रीवियस ईयर क्वेश्चंस यू ट्राई टू गैस के पढ़ना तो सब है, बट थोड़ा सा रिविजन में ज़्यादा फोकस उस पर, दैट मे बी द क्वेश्चन विल बी आस्क्ड फ्रॉम दिस साइड, राइट. सो देयरफॉर दिस इज हाउ इट इज. Prelims, post-independence and world university, usually one question they ask. Post-independence India has been dominated by integration of the princely states into India and the challenges faced. India-Pakistan wars एक ही बार पूछा है ना. अब पूछ सकते हैं. 65 वॉर पूछा था उन्होंने, 47, 48 वॉर नहीं पूछा है, 71 वॉर नहीं पूछा है, 99 वॉर नहीं पूछा है. तो मतलब these wars they can be asked if they want. World history में till now they have reached World War II. That means they have asked about revolutions, French Revolution, American Revolution, Industrial Revolution, इन पे questions पूछे. Then they have asked questions on World War I, on interwar years between the two world wars, that is 1920 till 1939, which includes the Great Depression and these kind of things, and 1939-45 World War II. Plus some question they have asked on decolonization, which pertains to like the colonies. Cold War is part of syllabus, but they have not asked anything yet. The whole student community will be super surprised, because since the introduction of new pattern till now, it has been like what, 11-12 years, till now they have never asked about Cold War. If they ask a question which is, let's say, 250 words, everyone will be surprised. So therefore fine to some basic level, why Cold War, how it was fought, what was the impact on the world and India, why USSR lost. These kind of 4-5 questions everyone should prepare. Otherwise Industrial Revolution, World Wars, तो basically ये है. तो ये ठीक है, sample questions है. I have taken enough time, I think, right. So that is that is how we study. I hope I have been able to give like an overall sense that we try to approach history in a very like logical manner, logical fashion, right. So with focus on other disciplines also like ethics and all. ठीक है ना. So that is it from my side. Any questions from your side? Any doubts? if you join VisionIAS, in that particular case, I'm not a fan of Spectrum, right? Spectrum is like a kunji for me. I read Spectrum, but I could never understand history, right? So therefore, we have our own. I have made the handouts on my own, just that I have not published it in form of a book, right? Plus, VisionIAS has also very recently studied all these sources and come up with some material. But मैं अपना material use करता हूँ class में, which I give, right? तो मतलब that is like good enough. So either go for VisionIAS material or go for Spectrum. It's fine. Actually, all the toppers they talk about Spectrum because there is no alternative, right? So हमारे time पे Spectrum was this big. Now it has become this big. So source wise, I would say कुछ ऐसा वो नहीं है. बाकी पढ़ना है तो आप यही कर सकते हैं कि VisionIAS का रिटन मटेरियल बहुत अच्छा है कंपेयर टू अदर कोचिंग इंस्टीट्यूट्स भी काफ़ी अच्छा है. तो आप क्या कर सकते हैं कि इरिस्पेक्टिव ऑफ वेदर यू ज्वाइन VisionIAS और यू डू नॉट ज्वाइन VisionIAS, अभी आपने ज्वाइन तो नहीं किया है ना, कर लिया आपने नहीं किया, मतलब अगर आप ऐसा नहीं भी करते हैं तो उस केस में क्या है कि आप VisionIAS का जो मटेरियल ना वो अच्छा मटेरियल है, ठीक है, और रिसेंटली अपडेट भी हुआ है. तो वो आप कहते हैं वहाँ से अगर आप पढ़ेंगे, स्पेशली जैसे वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री है, वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री तो मैंने खुद लिखा हुआ है, वो मेरे पर्सनल नोट्स ही हैं विच आई कन्वर्टेड, एंड देयर आई एम 100% श्योर कि उससे अच्छा मटेरियल मतलब सही है. ऐसे अपनी ट्रम्प के आने के बाद मैं अपनी तारीफ करने लग गया, तो पहले नहीं करता था मैं, थोड़ा सा इफेक्ट तो पड़ता ही है ना. ट्रम्प तो कह ही देता है तुमने मेरी तारीफ नहीं करी, यू डिड नॉट प्रेज मी, राइट. एलॉन मस्क, देन एलॉन मस्क वेंट टू ट्विटर एंड सेड थैंक यू. अभी रिसेंटली अ मीटिंग हैपेंड वेयर बाय ट्रम्प टोल्ड एलॉन मस्क यू हैव नेवर थैंक्ड मी, देन मस्क वेंट टू ट्विटर एंड थैंक्ड हिम. तो खैर बट यू आस्क इन दी मार्केट ऑल्सो among the top 2-3 sources VisionIAS material for world history it is there, right. So therefore that is one stop shop. उसके अलावा you don't have to do anything for world history. For modern history also their material is good. If you join then my material will be there if I take your classes, right. So source wise ये है, तो usually students they have issue with respect to source. Post independence India, definitely go for some coaching institutes material, if not VisionIAS then someone else, because 1 or 2 questions or at max 1 question comes, at times no questions come, and Bipin Chandra book is this big and Ramchandra Guha book is this big, so there is no use of like reading that big content, right. World history में otherwise the book is normal होवे, right, उतना कोई पढ़ना नहीं होता, but ठीक है, it's okay. एंड NCERTs तो हैं. मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री में इफ़ यू आर अ वेल रेड स्टूडेंट देन गो फॉर शेखर बंदोपाध्याय. इफ़ यू डोंट हैव ट्रबल विद, यू डोंट हैव फियर ऑफ इंग्लिश, देन गो फॉर शेखर बंदोपाध्याय, राइट, रादर देन बिपिन चंद्रा, ठीक है, बिकॉज बिपिन चंद्रा इज मार्क्सिस्ट राइटर, एक्सट्रीम लेफ्ट विंग, एंड एक्सट्रीम लेफ्ट विंग की जगह स्लाइटली लेफ्ट ऑफ सेंटर रहता है शेखर बंदोपाध्याय, विच इज़ रिलेटिवली बेटर, राइट, इफ़ यू आर अ बुक रीडर. Any questions from your side? हाँ, अभी मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री में आई एम दी, हाँ मतलब मॉडर्न हिस्ट्री में आई एम यूजुअली दी द टीचर. हाँ, क्योंकि अभी तो मतलब मुझे ही बोला गया है कि बाकी इंस्टीट्यूट का कॉल है, बट मोस्ट प्रोबेबली आई विल बी टीचर, ठीक है ना. सो दैट इज हाउ इट इज. एनी अदर क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम योर साइड? दैट्स इट. Thank you.